to see if he was barefoot. Is that still the case? Is he barefoot? Because I know on Facebook somebody posted a picture of these could be his shoes, or is that so he is presumed to be barefoot at this point?
What I can say is that his mom says all of his shoes are accounted for at the house. I'm not going to say that he's barefoot.
All right.
Allegedly!
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. Here's a brief disclaimer for tonight's show. Let's watch.
That's ignorant! Allegedly, that's ignorant! Ignorant!
Judgment, Austin.
Chloe, you read my thoughts. You've got the shinin.
You mean shining?
Shh! You wanna get sued?
Judgment, Austin.
You just use that shin of yours to call me and I'll come a running. But don't be reading my mind between 4 and 5. That's Willie's time.
Hey, yo, boss. I love him when he does that.
Let's watch.
Don't get me back to good bullshit.
I've got two souls, 'cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Count my boons as in desert crumbs spoon. I'm gonna turn all of my stones.
Rock bottom make a man and some pressure make a gemstone. Try to put $1 to my name like Creflo. Not the boy, late to the game, it's in the blood flow. And I'm from the south, it's thick skin and tough bone. Big attitude through big lips with gusto. Trust no kings, that's why they tried to crush souls. But it's ITBO, when the dust blow, this old head be standing there. No silver, just gold. Crack no books on the hustle, I was born to grind. Yo, I'm scared of your potential, I'm adorned with mine. 30 times around the sun, man, of course I shine. My legacy will not dwarf with time, and in my daughter's eyes, it's basic. I must not say quit. Every day sees a present like a Rob St. Nick. Walk a fine line between the nations. I'm patient, I can't slip. I'm fighting clocks and they can't win.
I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way grown. Trying to find my way back home. Count my wounds as some desert crumbs flow. I'm gonna turn all of my stones. I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way grown. Trying to find my way back home. Who that soldier in the mirror? Oh, oh. I'm gonna turn all of my stones.
Impeccably I flow, hardest raps you know. Breaking status quo, reaping what I sow. Artistry like Van Gogh. Get it from my mama hip, so thick that I need tempo. Personality, spicy body banging like a bongo. Cause black women been it since Timbuktu since Pharaoh. Sponge rollers and hot combs, lips, cheeks and brow bones. If you ain't for the culture, then please stay out of my zone. These little dummy rappers could never grace my headphones. See, I'm from a place in space where ain't no storytelling, you just had to have been there. If you want the battle, ain't no problem, say where. I got so much experience, I can't even play fair. But I'ma keep evolving and growing and hurting feelings and showing. You need endurance to go in. I got mileage on this pen. I've been busy cause I've been out here schooling all these kids. Took 3 decades to have this glow up that I did.
I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way grown. Trying to find my way back home. Count my wounds as some desert crumbs flow. I'm gonna turn all of my stones. I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way grown. Trying to find my way back home. Who that soldier in the mirror? Oh, oh. I'm gonna turn all of my stones. Turn all of my
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here, coming at you with another raw narrative. And it's so good to see you guys today. Thank you for being here. I'll just go through the list of people. Welcome in, everyone. I had to play an extra intro. I'm sorry. Django decided to make a bunch of noise and he had a bark fest. So right as I was about to go on, so I had to delay it. Hey, Don Emery, so good to see you. Thank you for being here. Lisa B. Always, thank you for being here. Kai J's Campfire, I think that the gathering will probably be, in front of the venue, I would think. Everybody just kind of dispersing out to wearing Sebastian's t-shirt would help tremendously, right? Wearing a shirt with his missing information on it is the big key, because they don't want people handing out flyers, to the best of my knowledge. So it's very unfortunate, but I believe that's going to kind of be, I think Jay's going to do a meet and greet from Crime Time Buzz. Hey, Lisa B. Always, good to see you. And Paige Turner, nice to see you. Charlene McPike, thank you for being here. I saw that Betty had a thumbnail and that she was live about Charlie Kirk being shot in Utah. And my heart and prayers go out to him and his family. I'm not sure if he's still with us. Hey, CC, good to see you, honey. And Seclusion Work says, is that Captain Kirk's brother? No, I believe it was a political rally or something, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not really sure about that. Thank you, Don Emery. That's so sweet of you. Yeah, I like the intro, the longer intro, just because it shouts out the mods, it shouts out everybody that's helped out, kind of highlights everybody that we've talked about on the channel. So I'm really glad for that. I know it was Seclusion. I'm sorry I had to go. I did have to extend that. Hey, Paige says, does anyone feel like we might have some movement in this case soon? I was researching why FBI reissues alerts. It's interesting. Okay, so why the FBI would reissue an alert? I have a couple of thoughts on it. Just from past cases. Um, but I would love to see, what the research is on that subject. And feel free to share what you found too, Paige, with us. I think a lot of it has to do with Seth standing outside. Um, a lot of it has to do with the public pressure, right? We can do it together, guys. We don't need to ask permission. We, the people, run this outfit, even though they think they do. Hey, Deanna Sanchez, good to see you. I always like for people to remember and read up and research on what our rights actually are as United States citizens. We do not live in, and not to get political, but it's not dictator aristocratic here, right? And God, heaven forbid, right? They're not the end all be all, and there are more of us than there are of them. And that's really the overall message, I think, to come across at PigFest. Also, Betty is planning to do a demonstration as well coming up in February. So really want to show up and show out for support for that. Very, very important. And I need to make a flyer for it. I have not yet. Just a lot of things to deal with behind the scenes, but then also, I'm trying to stay up to date. Now, I wanted to come on and show you guys Mob Crew, right? Because he explains everything very well when it comes to the lights. He's studied them. He's enhanced the video. He has really done extensive research on the subject. And so I was really happy to see him kind of come out with his take on the FBI, and we're going to watch some of that today. Yes. Oh, thank you, GA64. Pray you well. Charlie Kirk has been shot, condition unknown, suspect in custody. It was awful. Oh, my goodness. I'm so sorry to hear that, GA64. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, because I wasn't sure about that. I just kind of heard about it before I came on. Thank you, Lisa B. Always. His prayers for Charlie Kirk. And we're praying with you. My goodness, that is terrible. I don't understand why people go out and use their firearms in such a way. I really don't, especially when we want to be able to keep them. Seclusion Work says on him, the one who wants the military to occupy cities. Oh, okay, Charlie. I guess I'm at a loss with who he is at the moment. Hey, Donna, good to see you. And Patty Visco, good to see you. KJ Mack, welcome in. Good to see you. Oh, I still don't know who that is, hon. You do?
Yeah, he does a lot of. He goes to college campuses and sits down and talks with them.
Oh, he's like Ben Shapiro?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Just getting a small side update over here. KJ Mack, good to see you. What on earth? Charlie Kirk was injured. Yes. Yes, apparently someone came and shot him, and he was at some venue, at a speaking event or a rally. Fox is saying Charlie Kirk is in critical condition. Okay, thank you, GA64. So he's still with us. That's a good thing. Hey, Leslie, keeping it real. Thank you for being here. Hey, Nisi Marie, good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. We have a lot of people that are very knowledgeable about this subject, guys, and I'm glad Nisi's here. A lot of our friends have studied this, right? And it's very bizarre when we see this come out in the way that it did, KJ Max says, how tragic that people are unable to disagree with others without using violence. Shameful to attack humans rather than ideas. For him and his family, praying for him. Yes, KJ Mac, I think that is so well said. I think that is so well said. We see that a lot just on YouTube, right? Or in the chats and things like that. I try and let everybody kind of hash out their own disagreements to a certain extent, right? And I've put people in timeout and stuff, and hey, Lisa King, but I rather not do it, because I think that you guys are all very smart and capable of kind of figuring out how to disagree without being rude to each other or hateful. It is an art sometimes, right? Especially because we're typing words out and we're putting them into a chat, we don't have a lot of context, right? We don't hear tone and things like that, right? Because you can hear my tone. If I change it, you can hear it. Or if I say something, you can kind of interpret it more so if I'm chatting in the chat, it's harder to tell, right? Seclusion works. It's okay. I know. And I politically speaking, I do try to shut my mouth a lot too. But I know that there's a lot of issues that are pressing, and I know that there's a lot of people who are, affected by it. And I always think that, an injustice anywhere should be examined and, talked about, because it could happen to any of us, right? Hey, Susan Kemp, good to see you. He does do a wonderful job. He does. Yes, Donna, he's wonderful. He's wonderful. Yes, Susan, I knew what you said. I know it's a sad situation, GA64. It is. And for anybody to be shot, I mean, again, we can disagree with people's ideas and ideals, even so, morally speaking. Hey, Patty Visco, thank you so much for your super stickers. She says, thank you for keeping Sebastian's name out there. You're welcome, Patty. Thank you for being interested still. Guys, I hear about this becoming a cold case, and I really hate that because I don't think it is. I think that everybody wants to hear more about what's going on with Sebastian, because even in the bigger channels, I can see, on a given night, say even Justin, Clutch Them Pearls, right? He has tons of subscribers, but there'll be like thousands of people in there to listen about Sebastian, So I think that's saying something. Lisa King says, yes, they say he isn't critical. He was shot in the neck. So tragic. Oh my gosh, shot in the neck. And he looks like a young guy. I just saw a picture. Hey, Kiki. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Seclusion Work says, when you're in the last stages of an illness, you learn what's important. You learn to appreciate a sunset, ice cream, friends, and family. Yeah, Seclusion, that's so well said too. I agree with that. I agree. And especially if you think about it, any day, it's good to be grateful. It is, because we do take a lot of things for granted. I know I do. When we look at these cases, it's easy to also see, that life is short. And, even talking about little Renesmee, I mean, how tragic, and to think these children went through so much in their short times here, not getting to do the things that they always wanted to do. I think about that with Sebastian, thinking about if somebody's holding him somewhere from the things that he loves, the people he loves. KJ Max says the only thing cold in Sebastian's case are the hearts of some of the people around him. Boom. I mean, I couldn't say it better myself. I really couldn't say it better myself. That's it. And people wanting it to go away, in my opinion, as well. Even more so than that. And I know that's a little conspiracy driven, but in the same way, I do believe that there's more to the story, Ooh, sweets. Yay, sweets. Mom ended up had a post, and she said, does anybody eat sweets for breakfast? And she had chocolate fudge. Yeah, thinking of you every day, says Kiki. Yes, we are. We love Seclusion Works. Yeah, and it is very true, KJ. It is. It is very true. All right, guys, so let's get into this, because we do have a little bit to go through here. Chris does just an amazing job, so I'm going to try not to play him through or anything, and I want to stop in between to talk. This is really going to be more of a reaction video. I don't do as many reaction videos, but I haven't been able to watch this all the way through. I only watched kind of the beginning, and then I went over and watched a little bit of Justin, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I just really wanted to, put it all together and kind of in my brain what's going on YouTube. But also, again, Chris from Mob does a wonderful job of, just really getting the information out there. He's good with the videos, right? Tech savvy. Hey, Panda Bear's mom and Leanne, good to see you. So there's there's full credit to Chris from Mob Crew. He's awesome, and I think he's called the Mob Crew, but I put Mob Crew in my title, so I'll change that in a little bit. But because it is the Mob Crew. I just I just looked when I went to go grab the link, but he's the best. He's one of the best, and here we go with this. Let me just share my screen. And he's going to read some of the FBI statement. I know a lot of us have heard this, right? We've all kind of heard it. But I also like to hear other people's perspectives on things. And I think it's really important, you know? So, hey, Mama, good to see you. All right, guys. Oh, thank you so much, Panda Bear's mom. Thank you for sending Devlin's flyer. Absolutely. I have 2 cases that I wanted to kind of do one night here coming up. There's another case that somebody said that, you know, this person's still missing, and I had pulled that flyer in from an older email. So I'll plan on doing kind of a live with the 2 of them, you know, together. So here we go, guys. I'm going to go ahead and play this.
I've heard, and if you haven't, FBI put out a post the other day, September 4th, so it was a couple days ago, put out kind of a timeline, which does have some very interesting statements in it, and then it talks about 2 of the big rumors, and of course one of them being the 3 a.m. lights, which of course on this channel we've broken down several times in so many different ways, and of course over nearly a year discovering stuff throughout that year. It's kind of wild. Then in that post there was very interesting and disturbing statements that they put out. I could not believe it, and I don't know if anybody showed you guys this. And on top of that, they actually showed, if you guys don't know, the photo that they showed of the 3 a.m. video, it's actually the real footage. Like it's just obviously a screenshot. But this is the first time we have ever seen, because the 3 a.m. footage, so let me just kind of, for anybody that doesn't know, this footage here that we've kind of been accustomed to, that, you know, originally started with Nick Barris and then got leaked out on Facebook via extended family member or friend from the home. And it wasn't taken from, I mean, it was taken from the surveillance, but it wasn't like taken off, you know, a device. It was recorded on a cell phone. And this created a lot of issues because you lose a lot of quality. If you're recording a monitor, especially like a dark screen, like a dark recording, you know, like a security surveillance at nighttime, and you've got like a lot of lighting, you could tell like on the top, in the corners and stuff, you can actually, there's a part, you can actually see it. If I were to crank up the brightness, you can almost see where the person is like was holding the cell phone, which is
okay, guys, and I just want to pop in here really quick and talk about reflections. We've talked a lot about reflections. You know, we've even looked in people's glasses and saw the reflection out of the glasses. So just kind of keep in mind that Chris is going to go into the reflection of whoever was taking the video of the flashlight video from the original source. They were using a cell phone. Hey, Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom, good to see you. Also want to point out, guys, this is the chat count. Oh, sorry, let me go into this. See the chat count right here? This is 355, right? 355 people that want to go in and watch Mob Crew, Chris, talk about this lights video. So far from cold, far from old, we are all interested. We want Sebastian found. We're Sebastian Strong.
kind of wild. Anyway, so many things that we've done to break this down. But this is so wild because this is the first time we actually get to see the original footage. I'm excited and a little like, I wish it was like better. I was kind of hoping to see more. I mean, you do get to see more detail, that's for sure. And there could be some things to come out, but like what they talk about, like as the rumor and what they use to say, like, this is how we figured out, or, you know, we learned that, this was just garbage truck lights or some kind of headlights, and they were like 300 yards away, and they used like a top topography map to figure out like where the location was. The fact that they had to put that in there and where they got that from, if you don't know, I'm going to show you guys. It is absolutely disturbing. I cannot believe they left that part in there and not used another technique, which I'll show you guys. Be it 100%, and it would have been, people would have been, if this had nothing to do with the case, I think most people would back it, but it is not the case. So let me get to the part here, and I'll shout some people out here. Thank you to my wonderful mods and Jazz, Jennifer. No, a lot of people are coming in, so I'll just allow people to come in. We'll just go over that timeline that the FBI released, and then at the bottom is where they talk about the lights and the green hoodie person, that's another fascinating thing. Maybe we'll touch on that a little bit, but I promise you, just the rumor part about the 3 a.m. lights and what they put left in there, like, shocks the hell out of me. I am just blown away. So, and then of course, some of the details that they have in this timeline are details that are kind of changed up a little bit. Like, so this is very interesting if you haven't heard it. So again, I'm just going to let AI read it out so I can kind of catch up on chat, and then just kind of pause periodically. It's not very long, so it's on the FBI.gov. They did an update. I think a lot of people are speculating this is in maybe.
Okay, guys, I just want to pop in. This is where Chris kind of reads through the FBI release that was recently released, the newest release from them, really heavy with statements from Brandon Carter. Okay, just to kind of frame that out. Hey, YouTuber, good to see you. Welcome in, guys. Thanks for being here, Mama. Also, Paige says, I hope this release by the FBI was bait. No way that that's not flashlights. I seen what I seen. And I mean, I feel the same way about that as well. I mean, don't tell me that I didn't see something. Obviously, and we've talked about it on the show here too. Sometimes we can't believe everything we see or everything we hear, of course, but this is pretty obvious. I think a lot of people were upset about it. And like I said, Chris just does the best job of explaining it. So, I figured let the expert go for it and we can comment on it. So, but here he's going to read a little bit to us.
They put this out because of Seth Rogers being out there, standing out there at the Sumner County Sheriff's Office.
February 26th, 20.
Okay, so let me just set this up. So,
and I agree with that.
Here is where they just kind of go over the timeline, and there's some interesting details, but it's when we get to the 3 a.m. lights, I promise you'll be like absolutely wild.
24. Katie Proudfoot went to wake up her 14-year-old son for school. To her surprise, he was nowhere to be found. Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers had spent the previous day with his mother. The pair shopped at a department store, played video games at a bowling alley, and had dinner at a local restaurant before heading home for the evening. After returning to their home in Hendersonville, Tennessee, Katie and Sebastian prepared for bed, saying goodnight sometime between 9 and 10 p.m. Katie told us a little bit before 10 p.m. she heard a loud bang coming from Sebastian's room, so she yelled out to ask him if he was okay, to which he responded that he was, said Detective Brandon Carter from the Sumner County Sheriff's Office. She told him to go to bed because they had to be up early for school the next morning. Katie called her husband, who was out of town in Southwest Tennessee for work, and the two of them spoke for nearly 2 hours before she went to sleep around midnight. The next morning was the beginning of what would become a massive search effort for Sebastian. Katie called her husband and told him that she couldn't find Sebastian, that he wasn't in his room or anywhere in the house, said Carter. Katie got into her car and drove around the neighborhood and to Sebastian's school, which was less than a mile away from their house, searching for Sebastian before returning home. During this time, her husband called the local emergency communication center to report Sebastian as missing. In the early days of the search, it seemed Sebastian vanished without a trace. This case was kind of a question mark, said FBI Nashville Special Agent Robert Barrett. Mom wakes up and he is just gone. There's a question mark, and we've got to figure out what happened. That question mark only grew bigger as the search went on. Sebastian did not take any clothes, shoes, money, food, or his cell phone, said Carter. His cell phone and cash were both lying on the dining room table where they had been the day before.
And guys, I just want to say that is so strange that Sebastian would have straight cash, right? Because it doesn't say that he had a wallet, right? And his phone on the dining room table. And I just want to point out that we've jumped up in Mob Crew's chat to 521 people who still care deeply about finding Sebastian, or at least want to listen about it. 521 people. We have 49 people in here on an impromptu live stream. No worries. Please, town chat, don't feel bad. I saw your comment. This was, kind of a last minute where I was kind of prepping in the morning and time got away from me too. And so, yeah, I really put I think I did like a 15-minute notification for it time. So no worries. Thank you for being here, Ann Reynolds. Good to see you. So, that part really bothers me, guys, that Carter is coming out and saying that Sebastian took nothing with him at all. And he left his money on the dining room table, not in a billfold, not in a wallet, nothing. Just cash on the table and his cell phone. Makes it seem like he was trying to leave, right? On his own. Nisa Marie says, and wanted to be a sheriff. CP still thinks it's a trash truck. Hey, wanted to be sheriff. It's flashlights and no headlights on hill 300 yards away. Dig deeper. You can't fool us. Only yourselves. I agree with that, Nisi Marie. They are only fooling themselves. Hey, Pink Warrior. They're only fooling themselves. It's like, go ahead and lie to yourselves all day long. Get together and have a meeting of the minds where you guys lie to each other. But if you try to put that out to the public, we are going to call you out. We are going to get to the bottom of it. And, thank God for Mob Crew, like I said, using his knowledge and technology in order for us to understand this deeper, I'm losing faith in him, Lisa King. I'll tell you what, I will send that man anything he needs or asks for, but I'm not going to, do the job for him. And I think that was a great point that, Jay at Crime Time Buzz said, he's had plenty of time to do what he needs to do here. It's very obvious. You bring the two, if you're a detective on the case, you bring the two people who were last with Sebastian and you put them in different rooms and you interrogate them. You don't have to do it in a mean way. I showed you guys that interrogation. It was a mother and a stepfather, and the little boy, James Hutchinson, went missing, right? They go to the police station and they tell them our son went missing. They take them both into different rooms and they question them. The officer was not mean. He was not rude, but he did get a little bit annoyed with being lied to. So why are these officers not annoyed that they're being lied to? They're in the hot seat. They're the ones that look like a joke. Look, Carter is a joke, like Snuggle Struggle. Why would you take all of that heat for these two? These two morons. Chris and Katie are the worst liars and the worst storytellers of anyone I've ever seen. Except for maybe Rebecca Haro. Maybe Rebecca Haro. Sorry, guys. I went to go change that background and or grab another picture and I changed the background. Give me a second here. Let's see. Katie's not a good liar. As a matter of fact, she's one of the worst liars that I have ever seen in my life. You can see right through her. Now, other people are more manipulative and get away with it for longer. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. But these two, they're horrible. Everybody saw right through them from the very beginning. You're driving around the neighborhood with your window rolled up, Katie. You're not doing a very good job of looking like you're looking for your son. And then you run up to the Texas Roadhouse to try to get the footage, right? If I see that you smack that kid in the back of the head, Katie, it's going to be really bad for you. Right? Because I'm done giving the benefit of the doubt at that point. You've shown us that you do not care about Sebastian. You don't try to look for him. You're not asking for help from higher officials. You're not frustrated with the police. You're just fine with the way they're doing things, and they haven't found your son. Now, I'm not saying that you should go out there and yell at them or anything like that, disrespect the police. No. But they would really be upset if it was me, because I would be on their asses every single day. They would hide from me too. Sandy says BHB has the thought, what if that was a truck up there waiting for that car, i.e. Chris waiting for a handoff. I see what you're saying, Sandy. I mean, I'm not gonna discount that. Different possibilities. Now, I've heard a lot about Honeysuckle. I actually have pictures of that street. Right? I have pictures. People have talked about that street even on the other side, right? So I'm really reluctant because of this footage of the silver vehicle. I just am at this point. Now, going to the area, I might be able to get some better footage. I would imagine I'd be able to get some decent footage. Now, going in October and being there in January is a little bit different. February. The end of February, when spring is, coming into bloom, is a little bit different too, right? So that's going to be something different. But going there during that time for the demonstration that Betty has planned, that would put us right at that time, right? 2 years later to the date. So very, very interesting to see that, right? And that's kind of what I'm waiting for too. Also, there's that tree line that it would be very, very difficult for such a reflection or such a range of the flashlight to hit, right? It's too far. I mean, it's just too far. But I'm open to discussing anything. Anybody that's trying to figure out what happened to Sebastian, I'm willing to talk all day. I really am. And that goes for a lot of these other cases too. We have a lot of kids out there that haven't been found. Look at Summer. Heather Marie says, hey, Lady Freedom, I keep popping in and out. I'll come back. Love your heart. Oh, you're a great soul. Thank you. Sebastian will be found. I have faith. I do too, Heather Marie. Thank you so much for saying that. I do too. I have a lot of faith. And especially when I see 64 people in here, I see 521 in the chat over here. Justin's had like 1,000. And I'm just saying Mob Crew is going to keep rising up, guys. I just want to keep pointing it out because I don't like it when people just want to trample all over hope. Right? Hey, Kimberly. When you have no hope, you have nothing. And we need Katie to do the right thing. Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, guys, I'm telling you, put them in 2 separate rooms. The officer that I showed you guys on the interrogation, it's in a live stream that I did. But we might pull it in and examine it again. I'm just saying they put them in 2 separate rooms, right? And they talked to them. Now, he was upset because he was being lied to. And at a certain point in the interview, about halfway through, he tells her, I'm sick and fucking tired of you lying to me. And he does. He raises his voice, right? He's stern. He wasn't yelling at her. But at a certain point, he says, okay, enough is enough. She doesn't get triggered by that. But what she does get triggered by is about 5 to 10 minutes later, and I'm just kind of paraphrasing from my memory of this interrogation video. He says, I'm going to need you to tell the truth. I'm going to need you to be honest with me. And that's when she needed a drink of water. She was highly triggered. She couldn't be in a room alone with men, even though there were 2 men in there interrogating her the entire time, right? A couple hours worth of time. But that's what triggered her, was having to tell the truth. I believe so too, Nisi Marie. But honestly, at the end of the day, it's this. Like Mimi Ma says, Katie, do the right thing. Do the right thing. We're going to need you to tell the truth. We're going to need you to be honest. And I guarantee you, if I said that to her, it would be like ants in her pants. Because I bet you that would make her nervous as hell to think about even the concept of telling the truth. She's a liar. And so is her husband, in my opinion. Canadian True Crime 2024, thank you for being here. Good afternoon. Thank you, Town Chat, for being so welcoming too. Welcome in, guys. In February, there will be no leaves on the trees yet. Fact. Exactly, Nisi Marie. And in October, it's when they're all turning colors and becoming so beautiful and everything. So, yo, yiggity yo, we got Joe. Hey, Joe. Hey, Shadow. Good to see you. Yeah, I know, Joe. I love Justin. I would love to have a panel with Justin. I'm putting one together. If you behind the scenes, it's been a little bit longer because of the Pig Fest took me by surprise and took us by storm, right? So that's really been where I'm focusing my time. And I don't, the guests that I want to have up, I don't want us discussing that. Right. As weird as it sounds, as passionate as I am about it, I trust that it's going to be a good, positive environment and cause, and I think it's going to spread awareness, and I have a really good vibe about it. Right. So I'm not worried about that as much as I'm worried about this timeline. Right. But like everything happens for a reason, because I find myself saying, oh my gosh, I should have had these panel guests up, but then we have a new timeline. Right? Because I really wanted to focus with them on comparing notes on the timeline and, just discussing these things, right? From what they remember, from them being on the case, right? But now we have a difference. Now we're told that Katie and Sebastian only spent 10 minutes at the bowling alley. This whole entire time we're thinking, well, maybe they spent about, and this is just me, you guys can tell me how long you guys thought maybe she was there for, but I'm thinking if they got home from BJ's from shopping, they went out, shortly after breakfast. Let's just put it this way. They went out shortly after breakfast, right? Katie says that they went to go pick up their niece. They brought her to BJ's. They went shopping, ate some samples, right? So that's like an hour or two, right? And then you go back home. And I think it was out in Goodlettsville or something. I think that BJ's, I'd have to look. But either way, let's just go with a couple of hours here, a couple hours there, right? And then they go home, they drop off the snacks, they chill out at home for a little while. Then they head up to the bowling alley because they were about to bowl some games, right? And then we also find out in one of the reviews, people were like, well, they only give you an hour to bowl, and, unless you're a VIP, and we don't know if they're VIPs or what. But either way, the footage doesn't lie. Dog, the bounty hunter, Nick at Night, is saying that they're going to release footage that shows that Katie was only there with Sebastian for 10 minutes. Well, I'll be damned. And I can't wait to see the footage. I'm chomping at the bit. I am chomping at the bit. Thank you, Cece. You're so sweet. I appreciate you guys hyping my videos too. That is the coolest thing ever. That is so cool. Thank you so very much. Seclusion says, I was asked today if you could have one wish before you pass, what would it be? And I said, bring Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers home to his father. Thank you, Seclusion Works. Thank you so much. Guys, we all want that. Even people that I don't agree with. I mean, like wholeheartedly. I'm not talking about like other creators that I love so much. And there may be something that I'm like, well, I don't know about that. Or, I don't think so or whatever. No, I'm talking about the ones that I really don't agree with. I think that a lot of them do want Sebastian found. One of them is Elevated Goof, especially after I was rewatching his live stream. A lot of good points, a lot of things I didn't agree with, a lot of things I did. Hey, Detroit Rock City, good to see you, love. Yes, that's what I've been saying all along. Good old-fashioned interrogation. Amen to that. Yeah, I mean, why not? Even at this point, I know it's a long time, but look, guilt does a lot to us, right? Over time, it kind of wears us down a little bit. It does me anyway. And this might be because, I'm used to the Catholic guilt and, guilt trips by my mom, and she'd make me feel really bad. She knew I did something. She could definitely get it out of me, if she made me feel really bad about it. And I kind of think that tactic might work here at Detroit. At the very least, separate the two of them, just separate the two of them. And here we go. So, aw, thanks, Joe. Says same good vibe and kind tone on both channels. Justin's amazing. He really is. And gosh, the tree for Renesmee, everything. I'm always checking on Justin's channel because he does a fantastic job. Just, someone to look up to in the community, which is good because, not so much everywhere. But so there was a disappointment that may have occurred. One, she failed to mention early on that he had the best day ever, right? He was happy, except he didn't appear that way at the Texas Roadhouse. Right, KJ Mack. And then we're hearing that like he wasn't able to bowl. And that came out a little bit later on too. In my opinion, because we did hear about, the trip to the bowling alley and stuff like that. But then Katie said that they also played games because they couldn't bowl. So instead they did, the arcade cuz games, right? She said that too, the arcade cuz games. Okay, well, for somebody who loves games, and I do love to play video games. I mean, there's just certain games that I like to play. Look, you're not going to catch me playing the ones that blow each other up and all that stuff. I like matching games and I like Mahjong. Like I used to play that back in the day. I'm not really into a lot of the high graphic, like, right, blow up everybody up stuff. But I do like video games, so I could probably spend a lot of time in a place like that. Now, don't get me wrong, the games can add up, but if you put a limit on it and say, okay, Sebastian, we were going to spend $40 to bowl, but now you can have $40 worth of tokens. And see, that's what I would do with my daughter. If we were to go to a place and they say, oh, we can't do this today, like the movies is one that I think about because, there might have been a movie that we wanted to see. Well, we didn't get there early enough to grab tickets and it was sold out. So now we have to choose a different movie, right? But like in this scenario, I would say, okay, well, we were going to spend like, whatever, 50 on bowling. What do you want to do in here? Because there's a whole bunch of different things that he could have done too. There was like the bungee thing. There was roller skating. There's laser tag. I mean, guys, laser tag is so fun. I don't know if you guys have ever done laser tag. It is so fun. He would have had a blast, I bet, with that. And maybe that's more of like a dad-son thing, but I enjoy it. Joe Neal says it takes hours to down a colossal popcorn. I know, right? And it's not like, it's weird too, because she says he had a colossal popcorn. And I always think to myself, well, if it's all of you guys like walking through the store, weren't you guys all just kind of eating that big colossal popcorn together? It seems like something you would share. And again, thinking back to like the movies, it's like you get the big colossal popcorn, right? It's like this huge bucket and everybody's just like grabbing, stuff, grabbing their own popcorn out of it. you know? So the whole story is off, just even down to the colossal popcorn. It really is. Yeah. Have they ever said it again in all her stories? You know, I'd have to go back, but I'm pretty sure it did go like that, where we started getting more information. She told Smiley about the noise, right? But then whenever she was talking about it to Olivia, she said it completely different. She said it completely different to Nancy, right? About the noise in the bedroom. That's after they got back. But then again, also she started adding in details like Sebastian took the trash can to the end of the driveway. Now, when I first heard that statement, I was thinking to myself, did she say that because it was caught on camera, or did she say that because she wanted people to think that Sebastian made it home, right? And then now it's turned into, well, who really did take out the trash? We can't forget that it's been alleged that Lori and her son were also visiting that weekend. That's alleged, right? But still something to consider. I was rewatching Deception Detective, and he was giving us the green light because I know somebody came in and was talking about, is this going to help at a trial? That's not up to us as the public. We can consider all information. And I was like, thank you for this validation, because honestly, sometimes I feel like I want to be as professional as possible, but I can weigh out all the options. We can discuss things here, not to get too outlandish, but I think it's important for us to discuss these key topics, especially when we see the FBI putting out this nonsense, in my opinion. And it really was more so Carter, in my opinion. He's the star of this article. I'm surprised she didn't run down to the bowling alley for footage, says Niecy Marie. Exactly. Me too. Me too. Yeah, Oliver K. Thanks for being here. Yeah, and that's what it is too. It's about having a conscience. Yeah. I try to and I know that a lot of people do have that conscience, right? And you kind of almost think everybody does. Unfortunately, we're not seeing that here. Lady Freedom, do you ask people like Kyron Horman's mom to appear on your show? I would really love to have Desiree on the show. I really would love to have her. I haven't asked anybody to be up on the show. Like personally ask them. I've had people ask me to be up on the panel. But I would definitely reach out to her. I've followed Kyron's story pretty closely. My dad made me go to confession, so I would end up telling him the truth, Sandy. That was another part of it, right? Because then you knew you had to go to confession. That's another big part of it. That's why I say all the Catholic people know, right? Same here. Lady Freedom was going to ask if you were Catholic. Yeah, CC. And that's what really, brought it out when the McCoys were talking about they're going to, it's going to weigh on them. It's going to weigh on, and we were talking about too what a burden it would be, to just carry that with you and continue the lies. The lies are the hardest part, because you do have to remember your own lies. Town Chat Cafe says, I was going to mention last night that I wonder if the getaway car went down Center Point Road. In my opinion, he wanted the attention on Long Hollow Creek, but in my opinion, they could have turned down Center Point, in my opinion, allegedly. Like in order to turn around or to get out of town. Town Chat. Oh, Has Games. Thank you, YouTuber. Has Games. That's it. Right. Thank you. 10 minutes of games, KJ Mac. I could spend 10 minutes at just starting to play a game. You know what I mean? Just starting to match the whatever pieces together, and on my phone, that is. Now, if I'm at an arcade, then I'm like, oh, wow, look at all the different ones. And I might walk around for a couple minutes looking for skee ball or something, Detroit says it takes longer than 10 minutes to play games. I agree. And, maybe that's why Sebastian was, in the beginning we saw him and he had his fingers in his ears, you know? Yeah, for him to eat a big bag of popcorn, light bulb just went off. Yeah. Yeah. And that's why everybody reminding each other it's so good because it's been a long time coming. I'm probably the only straight middle class guy my age who doesn't spend his life on video games, Joe. I just don't know how that like people play the violent ones. I'm like, oh, that's really that's awful. Although, like, I used to play Street Fighter with my little brother and stuff. I mean, I'd play those games with him, but that was a long time ago. He was starving at the Texas Roadhouse. Meanwhile, he wanted to eat, right? Like he was eating, focused on eating, got him his food, and then also wanted to eat the rolls, and by God, let him eat the rolls. Yeah, Sebastian's eating a small meal at Texas Roadhouse, reflective of the big bag of popcorn at the earlier date. Yeah. Well, and then they don't talk about like going home and eating lunch. Now I'm wondering if he was being scolded for his reaction to the disappointment and maybe he was having some difficulty snapping out of it. But why not mention it at the start? It's so weird. Well, and people were saying that that you have to pay for the game, on the little systems there. So some of the games, are not free, or the games on those systems are not free. But, if he wasn't even able to play games at the other place, wouldn't you kind of make a concession for him and allow for him to play with that game and kind of cheer him up, Because I could see that KJ Mac where he might have been down in the dumps because he didn't get to play and, so yeah, the big buckets at the popcorn that you get, Nisi Marie. Oh my gosh, and they have the best popcorn at the movie theater. But Anne says I'm Catholic too. You guys know that guilt factor, right? The guilt factor. Yes, Kyron Horman is another one close to my heart. Yeah, who goes missing from their school with their stepmom? I never did like that lady. She always really made me feel like she was guilty. Paige, I love skee ball. I've been looking for skee ball. I also like to play that basketball one where it's just like the hoop and you just throw it. All right, guys. So let's get back into the mob crew here. But all good comments. Thank you.
When he went to bed, according to Katie, there was a small yellow flashlight that she thinks was missing, but that was the only thing that appeared to be gone from the house. The first week in the search for Sebastian was a massive community and interagency effort between the Sumner County Sheriff's Office, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, Emergency Management Agency, Hendersonville Police, Gallatin Police, Tennessee Highway Patrol, the FBI, Metro Police, Wilson County Sheriff's Office, Sumner County EMS, Sumner County Emergency Response Team, and several other agencies throughout Tennessee. The search consisted of about a 4.5-mile radius around Sebastian's home, said Carter. There were roughly 2,000 search.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Oh, whoa, that's weird. Okay, let me know how the camera is. Like, I don't know why it just like went out on my StreamYard. That is weird. Yeah, bang, thud, noise, exactly. Sorry, I kind of got distracted because my camera stopped working there for a minute. I wanted to thank Deanna and Jazz for the membership. Sweet C says, so happy to see you back. Hope you're feeling better. Thank you so much, Sweet C. God bless. Let's see here. Okay, let me know how the sound is and everything. So before I go on, yeah,
Truth or dare?
Truth.
I just ate mood with my dad. So he came over and he was all like, wow, wow.
His age, they messed up.
Sorry,
they
guys.
messed up the date. I think they did change that, but it looks like they still haven't changed his age, which is weird. Yeah, it was 15. Yeah, it's weird. I think it's kind of disrespectful. I mean, people make mistakes, but clearly they made quite a few, and wait until we get to the rumor part. Thank you, Lori, for the $3. Okay, perfect. All right. So let me continue playing this, and then because I really want to get to the rumor part, because that's the big one.
Searchers equipped with an app tracking their movements. The searchers could also use the app to plot things on a map that they observed while they were out searching. The total area they covered within that 4.5-mile radius was equivalent to a combined 44,000 acres. In addition to ground searchers, law enforcement employed every available resource at their disposal to locate Sebastian. Fire departments, mounted patrols, ATVs, search and rescue canines, drones, helicopters, and even an airplane. During day 2 of the search, the Sumner County Sheriff's Department reached out to the FBI for assistance and specific resources that could potentially help find Sebastian, who has high-functioning autism. I contacted our FBI Child Abduction Rapid Deployment Team for initial consults, and then they brought in the FBI Behavioral Analysis Unit to assist, said Barrett. The BAU shared a statistic that about 50% of autistic children are prone to wander. They are also naturally drawn to bodies of water, and 71% of fatal outcomes involving missing autistic children were a result of drowning. That information helped us focus search efforts in and around bodies of water. The search team drained ponds and searched waterways and lakes looking for Sebastian. In addition, law enforcement searched almost every home in the neighborhood. Video recordings from nearby homes and a dashboard camera in Katie's car showed that Katie and Sebastian didn't leave the house after their return home from dinner, and that no other cars were seen coming or going from Katie's home during the evening and early morning hours of the night or day Sebastian disappeared. We have followed through on every tip that has come in, said Josh Savley, special agent in charge for the Criminal Investigation Division at the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. Some of those tips we continue to examine at a deeper level, but the vast majority we have cleared as either being irrelevant or ended with no results.
Okay, let me make sure my mic is at least working in this. Okay, it is. All right, I think my thing is, I don't know what is going on.
Okay, guys, I just want to pop in really quick and just say that, again, this was said by TBI, criminal investigations, right? This is a criminal investigation. It's been a criminal investigation, but Josh Savley from TBI is working for the criminal investigations and being interviewed or being included in this piece released by the FBI. Just kind of want to point that out there, right? Another thing I want to point out really quick, 601 in the chat, looking at this information again, right? Wanting to hear the perspective of Chris from Mob Crew. 62 in here, guys. People care about Sebastian. The only ones that don't care, as our friend KJ Max says, is the cold-hearted sons of, SOBs, right? That don't want him to be found. This is not a cold case by any stretch of the imagination.
On. I don't know if it's frozen on your guys' side. It does look like it. I don't know. FBI post on X. Yeah, that is weird. Okay, give me 1 second, guys. Jeez, I don't know why the camera is messing up. Most of the stuff I prepare for, it's a video, but let's get to the rumor part. I may need to pick, I don't know. The camera seems to be working now, but who knows?
The lack of answers in the search for Sebastian has pushed the community to widely share the story on online platforms, but law enforcement reminds the public to be wary of misinformation from unverified sources. Sebastian's disappearance has deeply affected our community, said Carter. We understand the desire for the community to want answers and for us to explain every step of this investigation, but we can't release all the case details without risking the integrity of the investigation. We ask that the community refocus on what matters most, and that's finding Sebastian. Staying united and supportive will bring us closer to the answers that we're looking for. Continue to share Sebastian's official missing persons flyer, and don't wait, said Sheriff Eric Craddock. If you see something, say something immediately. If you call, right then, we can get
Died.
someone on the hot trail.
Thank you.
Sebastian was 5'5" tall and around
Listeners,
110
that
to
talks
115 pounds when he was last seen. He has brown hair and eyes that look hazel or brown. He would now be 16 years old. Sebastian has medical conditions.
Hey guys, I hate to break in while Chris is reading through this, but I just wanted to break in with breaking news that unfortunately at 31 years old, that young man, like GA64 says, 2 children, right? Young children, and it's Charlie Kirk. He has passed away from the injuries from the shooting. So that's breaking news right now. Fox is reporting on it. Just got an update from the hospital. So we'll absolutely be saying prayers for. I know GA64. I know, honey. It is. It's so heartbreaking. It just is. My gosh, guys. And the hate needs to really stop. I mean, it just should not be that way. We all can have ideas and opinions. One thing I just need to say too is that, you know, we might not agree on this case, right? Or maybe like 10,000 cases. Maybe we're just not true crime. What do they call it? True crime bestie. I think that's what Annie Elise says. We might not be true crime besties, but guess what? What if we're music besties? What if we're art besties? What if we like movies and we like the same movies? I mean, you know, ooh, Hogwarts chocolate frog. I think we need chocolate in our lives for this one, seclusion. You know, but you know, we can still be friends. Thank you, Mama Grace says we can still, we can agree to disagree and still be friends. Yeah, because there's so many other things that we do agree on, or you know, that we do like about each other, right? We like each other's company. We like to, you know, go to the mall and shop together. We like to get our nails done or our hair, whatever. You know, go to the beach, do fun things, right? So, you know, it's just one of those things. Wow, and I can't believe somebody would do that, Lisa King. My goodness. I know, 31 years old, just a young guy. And guys, it's because he was talking, right? He was going to different places. Now, again, I'm not a follower of this person. But it doesn't matter, right? Maybe he thinks one way politically and I don't, or I'm spot on with him, or you know, whatever. Oh, he does not deserve to lose his life at 31 years old. Very, very sad. Very, very sad. Okay, guys, I just wanted to give you guys that update that I heard just now. George Zinn, thank you, Charlene. George Zinn is in custody. And was he just the only one involved, I wonder? KJ Max says, I think he was respectful in his disagreements with others. That is sad and affront to freedoms of speech. This freedom can only exist in society of trust. I agree. You know, KJ Max, that's what I'm saying, right? Without kind of knowing a whole lot about it. You know, it sounds like it was like someone wanted to silence him, right? They were so upset that he was talking, that he was saying something. Well, talk is very cheap too. And people have to realize that, you know? Paige, I know. It's so sad. That is so cool. You got Hogwarts goodies from Universal. How fun, seclusion. I bet they're really, really good. But yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, if you don't like what somebody says, don't go to the rally. You know, he's speaking at the rally, stay away from it. I would. You wouldn't catch my ass at the rally. I would go to do something that I like to do. I'd go listen to someone I like to listen to. You know, I follow him. He changed a lot of young people's lives. Yeah, Charlene, that's great. I mean, and we need people out there that are inspirational to young people. Always. Always. Yeah, it is terrible, right? It is terrible. Well, we'll definitely be saying prayers. I'll kind of, you know, bring you guys some updates too. That is very, very sad. All right, guys. So back to this rumor has it. Here we go.
Including autism, that may impair his ability to return safely without assistance.
What if you can create your own website by saying, this is what I want? With Wix, you can.
Okay, give me a second. I'm going to see if this will fix it. Let's try here. Okay, I think it might be the plug. Hopefully, if this doesn't work, then I need to get a new camera. I am so sorry, guys. This sucks. You freeze when you play the video. Maybe. It's weird. Okay, so we got through the timeline. I wish we could have touched on that a little bit more, but I'm not sure if this camera thing, I may need to have to like take it apart. You disappear from time to time. Hopefully, I've got it fixed. I think I plugged it into a new outlet USB port. I think it just might be this USB port that I've got. It's kind of freaking out. All right, so here is where it gets like crazy, because here we got for the first time image from the actual footage. So if you guys don't know, this image on, let's see, I'm just making sure. I keep looking over to that corner to make sure I'm not freezing. So yeah, this right here is the actual image here. Let me just, and we're gonna break it down. Okay. Yeah, I think it was the so I have like a USB hub that I've used for a long time. I'm assuming this thing's probably pooping out. Yeah, that's probably what it is. Because now it seems to be working fine. So yeah, this is like when I saw this, because I saw this for the first time yesterday on Mr. E's Crimecast. God bless them. And I'm like, man, like the first thing that stuck out to me is kind of the more vibrant colors and the timestamp. Because the timestamps we have are not as clear, you know, because obviously it's a recording of a recording. And usually, like, we do have it, like, you know, at the top left a little bit, but because the person's kind of like not steady, it's moving. Of course, we'll show it here in a minute. But yeah, this is actually a real screenshot of the actual footage. This isn't, you know, somebody. So this on one side, this is good because that means the FBI has the original footage, which does give me hope. But at the same time, what they put in this flashlight theory is so, oh my gosh. And wait until you guys see what I'm going to show you guys. And then I'll show you something that's very interesting because this is now a new still photo. And it says right there, still photo from the security video. But let's see what it says. And then let's break down where they got this from and how just absurd this is.
The FBI is offering a reward of up to $50,000. Had security video footage from the night of his disappearance. The camera angled in a direction that happened to be and urging bring a reward of up to $50,000 for information leading to Sebastian's whereabouts. The Sumner County Sheriff's Office, TBI, and FBI are still working collaboratively, sharing tips and information, and urging the public to work with law enforcement in hopes of bringing Sebastian home. The flashlight theory. A house down the street from Sebastian's had security video footage from the night of his disappearance. The camera angled in a direction that happened to be...
Okay, right there. First big clue. Like, because for those that have been with my channel, it wasn't just overnight that I, you know, went to this 3M footage, you know, when it was, you know, slowly leaked out and said like, oh, I have all the answers. Like, it took me literally over a year. I was still finding other little clues, you know, like the motion light sensor. Like, it was like there in front of me this entire time. And it took me, 6 months after, you know, to figure out like something triggered that motion light sensor, even though it's like, you know, because we're working with a bunch of different like leaked clips along with the Nick Barris footage, which is like heavily zoomed in one spot. But anyway, I think it's interesting because they said angle direction. That's very important for those that understand like this camera angle. It's very, very unique, and it can be also because of the driveway and the camera position. It makes things look like they're all like an angle, but it's only because it's like the driveway. But we'll get to that. All right, so continue on because this is where it gets really absurd.
Facing Sebastian's backyard, captured two.
And they even say right there, facing Sebastian's backyard, captured 2 small moving lights. So, and of course, Nick Bear said that in his original video. And I've mentioned it so many times that he had spoken to the homeowner. We've had people go out there and speak to the homeowner after that, and has said exactly what we believe is in the footage is, what appears to be 2 people moving around with flashlights. And then that's not even the big part. Like, that's just one piece of the puzzle. There's a whole entire other one that nobody talks about, but let's just keep with the flashlights for now.
Small moving lights. At first glance, the lights appeared to be right in Sebastian's yard, suggesting someone was lurking with 2 flashlights in hand, a potential suspect given Sebastian's disappearance that same night. However, when law enforcement further investigated the video, they disproved this theory. The dark sky and camera angle combined had distorted.
The dark sky, for one thing, this thing is not looking at the sky. Wonder if it'd be easier to have this up. Why would we do that? Again, this is not looking at the sky. This is angled down. It is nighttime, but I don't know why they use the word sky. That's the last thing. This camera is pointed down towards their driveway because that's obviously what they got that surveillance camera for, is to keep an eye on their vehicles. Makes sense.
The security footage. When they examined the video in relation to the topography of the area, they found that the lights were actually coming from a pair of truck headlights flickering through the trees from a street atop a hill about 300 yards.
Okay, that's
law enforcement further investigated.
This is where it's like, I cannot believe you guys actually left that in. And if you guys don't know where that came from, it is absolutely absurd. And I'll show you guys, but it's.
Okay, guys, I just want to put out a trigger warning. Trigger warning. We're about to see something that is going to blow your mind. I also don't know if she wants a shout out, but she knows who she is. One of our lovely mods in here sent me a message about this very subject and pinpointed this interaction. Okay, just hold on to the seat of your pants, buckle up. Hope you have your snacks handy. I hope you have your colossal popcorn ready, because this is going to be a doozy. Trigger warning. Thank you. Thank you, Mama Grace. She says trigger warning. Trigger warning. Trigger warning. Gray Pubes is going to enter the building. Now, I've tried very hard not to call him that, but I think it's fitting now. So I was saving it up. Here we go. Prepare to be, I don't know, disturbed, amazed. I don't know. You guys tell me how you feel.
Nuts. So, and I'll go over a little bit. I mean, there's so many videos I've done on how we got to where we were. Again, it was it wasn't just overnight. I didn't go and I know everything. Like, we've sat there and broke this thing down, and I've had to, take weeks off, months off, and then come back and find something new.
Embarrassing story, but I can't pay my rent. My friend told me about how she got this $5,000 loan to pay off her bills, including rent.
And again, teamwork. So anyway, so they say that it's truck headlights. Remember, we heard garbage truck lights. Now they're saying a pair of truck headlights. Of course, yet we really only see one light move one way, and then another one kind of do its own thing, and is really kind of like one light moving, although there is two, but for the most part they kind of move separately, not like how headlights would behave. They would be parallel to each other at all times. unless a headlight was out or something. But yeah. So, but then they say on top of a hill about 300 yards away. That's where it's like, I cannot believe you guys actually left that in. Law enforcement further investigated, confirmed that the flashlights were actually headlights. My ass. Please show me that if that is the truth, and I'll show you like how easily they could just show us, and it would just completely shut us up. Then it goes on to say they also created an overlay. And I'm going to show you the overlay just to show you how absurd it is, and where they got the 300 yards from, because this is where I thought the footage was from when I first heard this. And then it's like I finally did my own thing, and I'm like, oh my God, this is way off. Like, how did they get this so off? And then again, it's like you go back to Nick Barris, and it's like, oh yeah, he had it right the first time. Like, why are we, looking at, anyway, we'll look at what they're talking about. But so they also created an overlay. And I'll show you who they is. It isn't them. And this would make no sense, because if you've got daytime footage and nighttime footage, there's an easy way to just show the audience, if you're trying to debunk something, do an overlay with the same footage from the daytime with the nighttime. And I'll show you an example of that. And then you wouldn't have to do no topographic map. It's so ridiculous. So anyway, let's show you guys
confirm that the flashlights were actually
where they got this from, and then I'll pause for a minute. So okay, so it looks like the camera's doing better. Again, I apologize. I really wish we could have stayed on the timeline a little bit more, but so if you guys don't know, this is our lovely friend GHI. Just kidding, not a friend, but I'm not gonna say anything bad about him. But for those who don't know, he did a lights overlay, probably maybe late March. I'm pretty sure it was late March. Now, there's so many things wrong with this. I don't even know where to start. Again, the one thing he does have, I'll give him credit, because this is the one thing that the PIs couldn't get right. Sorry, 1 second. Make sure. Okay, everything's good. Oh, thank you, Kimberly. God bless. Is that he actually tilted? He actually corrected the lights, although they are in the wrong spot. But he at least tilted. He actually understood that, like, yeah, anything that you're going to focus on in the background, you have to tilt. And we've explained that so many times, like over a year ago. But this is their topographical map. I am not even joking you. So GHI, this channel, I don't know if he actually had Proudfoot on in that show, because I think this is just like a 12-minute video or something like that. It's not like a live show, but he says like he spoke with Proudfoot, and Proudfoot had told him, yeah, it's a garbage truck and it's driving up on this light. So I know, I apologize if you're on the cell phone, but this is the light. These are the floodlights that we use that are supposed to be on this home here, but he's got it up on this home, which is completely wrong. There's no floodlights up here. I think they have one.
Yeah, so this guy's is an overlay, right? That Gray Hughes had done, right? His name is Gray Hughes, but I was just being a jerk. But I mean, really, it's ridiculous. It's absurd. But either way, this is kind of where he's placing the light. So I know, Paige, it's going to look a little bit different because where he's placing the lights aren't exactly where the view of the camera was. So, and he did do a whole video on this. It's GHI. So Gray Hughes Investigates, I believe it stands for. I'm not a big fan. I will tell you that he is pretty decent with maps. But we're about to see that this really doesn't line up, because as you're saying, Paige, it seems like sorry, I didn't know you guys couldn't see my mouse. So like you can see that when you are looking at the overlay, this is a truck, right? And that would put the truck smack dab in the middle of the road, pretty much. You know, and then also you see another truck here, and it would be parked out in the road where nobody could get through, literally. I mean, you couldn't, because there's more of the truck bed, right? And then there's more of the front of the car that we can't see once the overlay is placed over this. So, great questions too. And I know it's difficult and it doesn't make sense. Obviously, it's like, wait, what? Right? I mean, our good friend, wait, what? Perfect name for YouTube. Because I mean, and then of course we see this as the overlay. It's completely off because this is where their driveway actually is. So, you know, we're going to see this vehicle. It would be matching up somewhat with this vehicle, I do believe. But, you know, the trash cans are going to be over here, right? Next to the house, right on top of the house. So already he has the complete camera angle off. So good catch, Paige. And I mean, you know, again, he's putting the light sources, right, that we see here all the way across, you know, which is not what we're used to seeing, really. We're not used to seeing that nonsense. So yes, yes, yes. They all call him the gray pubes. I try not to, but I mean, you know, this is like so ridiculous that it is. And think about how ridiculous it must be that, you know, our people at the FBI doesn't, or, you know, the TBI is giving this to the FBI, right? They're investigating the wrong information if they're taking from this. Hey, Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says something I thought you guys might find interesting. The gas station, Tennessee, Lotto screen has an Amber Alert for Sebastian. Oh, Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom. That's perfect. Yay. Hey, Holly S. That's awesome. Good to know. I also saw that Sebastian's flyer was up at a Walmart in Kentucky, I believe. I'm pretty sure that's where I saw. So fantastic. That is so wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Also, I saw Seth in the chat giving condolences to Charlie Kirk. Poor guy, right? Young guy, young family man. Really sad. That is so sad. My heart goes out to him too. Well, sending mine in even the faces. Yeah. I think so. You know, Nisi Marie, like I said, I'm willing to send them. I'll send it to them again anytime they want it. I'll send them whatever they want. You know, if they would like to come over for a cup of coffee, I'll make a strudel, you know, or whatever. But we need people on this, you know. So yeah, Holly S, isn't that so sad? We got a live update about that poor guy. My Lord, 30 is too young, guys. 30 is too young. 31, excuse me. I do not unsubscribe what Sumner County Sheriff's and local FBI is feeding the public lies. I hope this is a tactic, but I think it's corruption, in my opinion. That's what's hard. It's hard to go back and forth with that. Okay, I do not understand. Okay, why Sumner County? Yeah, local FBI. Thank you, GA64. Yeah, is feeding the public lies. Yeah, I know, and I understand that they do that, right, in order to be. Well, there's a couple reasons. One is to hide information from the public in order to not let everybody know, because a lot of times perpetrators of crimes, you know, or well, not even a perpetrator, but just somebody that has committed a crime will watch the news to see if they're getting close to them, to figuring out what happened, right? But then they also lie to us too if they don't want to tip anybody off, or like for the longest time, GA64, I was thinking, well, maybe they won't clear Seth because, you know, Chris and Katie would be tipped off to that, right? And I still think that that could be the case, but I wonder about corruption. Elisa P, I'm not as familiar with him. I just know that he does like public speaking, you know? And he was at some sort of an event in Utah public speaking and they gunned him down or shot him in the neck. So terrible. Yes, exactly, Seth. That's the because they think that the ends justifies the means, but it's frustrating as hell. Seth says, "Remember, we aren't supposed to lie to LE, but they can lie to us." Yes, yeah, and I mean, and sometimes it's for a good reason, but to do it for this long, and this many differences, the thing that really points me toward corruption is when I see them changing from a trash truck to lights in the distance, and changing that story. And then also when I see Brandon Carter speaking for Katie in ways that we've never heard Katie speak of, even in her own voice. We all know Katie pretty well, right? Especially us over here. We've analyzed her, and I mean, it is what it is. We have analyzed Katie here, her speech patterns, her changing of the different accents, and we all talk. We all say, "Well, I was from here for this long, and I lived here for this long," kind of a thing. And so I picked up an accent from this place or that place, which happens, So, but we studied Katie, and we know that at no point in time has she ever, "Hey, Kitty Catty," has she ever said anything remotely close to what we heard from Detective Carter. So, all right, guys, I just want to go ahead and say that, and I'll.
But this is so off. The angle's way off. I mean, everything's off. But he did this because it's supposed to be this road up here. I forget the name of it. But that is supposed to be the garbage truck riding up there. And apparently Chris Proudfoot kind of coached him through this, at least according to Gray. So, and then if you want to know, again, why I'm like almost 99% sure this is the overlay that they're talking about, is guess how far away. So, I do zoom in. One second, and then we'll get to chat for a minute here. But so again, this is where the light moves. This is the stationary floodlights. Again, they're actually supposed to be here, but he's trying to say it's this road up here. And look at this. So what we got here.
Okay, guys, I just want to pop in here really quick and just let you know this is really, really important. So what Chris is saying, just please listen closely and view it. If you have to kind of zoom in, please do so, because this is really explaining that their theory is bullshit, in my opinion. So really great job. Well done by Mob Crew. Here we go.
Is the home with the security camera, and then this road way up here, and this is 300 yards. Look how big. We're pretty darn certain that the floodlights are right here, maybe just over 100 yards, along with the lights moving towards the camera. They are trying to say, and this is literally perfect, 300 yards from the home, and that is what they're saying. Is that insane? That they would use this old. To go back to they use this.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
Old overlay that Gray Hughes did, where Proudfoot allegedly told him, "Yeah, this is where the garbage trucks, where we were told, And of course, it wasn't just them. They, I think Seth, if I understand, and even some of the neighbors were told the same thing. And if they questioned it, they were just told, "Shut up! Don't say, not to question anything."
We saw that from Bobby.
And then it was like I remember seeing that, and I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, I guess it kind of makes sense." Okay, I'm just looking at chat. Yeah, screw. Thank you for taking care of the the trolls. I could care less about them. But anyway, so is that crazy though? Like the 300 yards, if you're wondering where they got that from, and the whole topography and the whole headlights on a street atop a hill, well, it's impossible for the lights to be coming from that angle. And we've kind of talked about that like many, many times. I'm not going to go over it again, but if you're wondering, that is where, that is the distance, 300 yards. And that's where they were saying like those lights, but it's like, there's just no way, because there's so like, we can see the light moving, and we'll see the video for a minute, but here is what they could have done. And then we'll get to chat for a minute. So let me play this. So if you really want to shut people up, and say like, hey, well, one, just like, why not release the footage? Because if it's nothing, why not just release it? But if you want to show people like where it's at, why don't you just take some daytime footage? Because we know you guys have it, and do this. So this is some daytime footage of when they were walking the dog. So, same camera, just to show like, and if we were to do this in reverse, I guess I should actually switch this the other way around, but you guys get the idea once I let this play for a minute. So this is me slowly transitioning. I don't know if it fully transitions to nighttime, but actually I think it does. So there's me switching to nighttime. So let's just say like, I'm the FBI. We've got, all these people, this theory, this 3 a.m. lights. Why won't they just do this? It would take like, it'd be so easy to do. They have the technology, and it would shut everybody up. Like if it was really this vehicle up on the, or garbage truck, up on the street atop, which we know it's not. The camera's angled down. But all they would have to do is something like this, is just take some daytime footage, but they've never done that. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let me catch up in chat. I'm so sorry, guys. We got so many people in here. Yes. So if anybody doesn't know why it says 2:23, is that's when the camera froze. Like the timestamp on the camera froze on 2:23. We the homeowners, talked about that. And then suspiciously, the day after he was reported missing on the 26th, which is on the Monday, the 27th, that camera went back to normal. So here, we'll look at this.
Okay, guys, so I just want to pop in. So, yeah, I think they've given zero effort. And don't forget that they're friends with CP, right? And so he was the one that was allegedly going crazy, right, about this footage. And he was allegedly the one who didn't believe anything about the video, the flashlight video, right, was going from place to place. And one of the places he ended up was at Gray Hughes, right, with that crappy overlay that we just witnessed. Now, I just want to make a correction too with this. And again, I didn't watch this beforehand, and I must have missed that video that he did. But this is where Chris is saying that the camera was jammed up on that date too. So not only the date was jammed, but the time was jammed. And I only knew about the time being jammed, not the date being jammed as well. So in the spirit of that, I think that we need to re-examine the camera jammers, like Nisi Marie is saying, right? The camera jammers. Because if this camera, and I need to find this video now of Mob Crew, and maybe he'll do a little bit more explaining. But here's the thing. If that was 2 days before Sebastian went missing, reported on the 26th, right? 2/23/24, then their cameras were jammed for days, right? And didn't go back to normal until the 27th, according to Chris with the mob crew, right? So we need to look into what technologies could do that, or what are the possibilities or reasons for a camera jamming like that for days, right? Days. YouTuber is here. Why is Sumner County so desperate to explain away the flashlights video? They have been since day one. And I believe it is premeditated, Paige. And a lot of people don't think so. Some people think that Katie snapped, right? Or that Chris was there and he snapped. I can't completely discount that. And I have the utmost respect for some people who do think that, because it's a theory, right? I respect people's theories and their ideas. But I will say that I've thought it was premeditated. No doubt about it. KK knows how to do all that jamming. I know. In my opinion, I agree with that 100%, Grace Paris, because she has that education, the training, the know-how, right? Very tech savvy. Now, I've explored the jammers that would jam the camera up for a little while, right? A couple of hours. But a couple of days? That's something that I am very interested in following up on. Very interested in following up on. And another thing, if you're going to put something like this out, why wouldn't you explain that instead of trying to explain the flashlight videos away, as our lovely YouTuber has pointed out? Right? Just put some random picture up of 2/23/24 and say he was reported missing on the 26th. I mean, it's piss poor. It's lazy as hell. And to know that they went to Gray Pubes for their information, Chris's old buddy, old pal. Corruption. Hi, Corruption. Nice to see you again. I thought you were gone. Oh, wait. No, you're here. Ridiculous. Carla says, previously, Chris looked it up and said something as simple as Raspberry Pi device could jam. Oh, yes. And they can be homemade too, Carla. Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Yeah, absolutely. They bragged about the knowledge they have, guys. They expect us to believe they didn't have a home security system when Katie worked for Brink's Home Security. Hello. Again, hello, lies from Katie. Nice to see you again. I thought those had ended. I thought you were going to try to tell the truth. Oh, I'm sorry. You're incapable. Elisa P says, and there are people who think this was an accident and they did this stuff off the cuff. That's extremely premeditated. Well, and I mean, you know, I've explored that possibility too, Elisa P, and I disagree with it as well. An accident? No, I don't think so. I think it was premeditated all the way. Right? If they use the jammers, and which jammers do that for, I mean, because it's based off of, you know, the Wi-Fi. It's based on a couple of different things, but also, you know, it doesn't affect cameras that are hardwired, right? So they would have to absolutely know which cameras in the neighborhood that they were going to jam up. And they would have to be aware of the cameras, or some kind of knowledge about where they are. We know that he knows where the license plate readers are, how many there are, and where they're out. Cannot have lights in their house. They have to take things down because it will show what happened in their house, in my opinion. Yeah, and no, their cameras are not in order. Their lights are not around their house until after Sebastian goes missing. Then we see the porch light on. I agree, Nisi Marie. And again, too, like Grace Paris says, lady, she worked for Brinks. You know, she worked for Brinks. She could have had this stuff readily available in her work van. Perfectly a Perfect Boy Mom says it would be interesting to see if there was are any other cases where video surveillance was thrown out as evidence due to inaccurate date or timestamps. Well, and that's the thing too. That's very important to consider, because now we have this wacky, wonky crap that we're dealing with, right? As if we didn't have enough of that in this case. As if we didn't have a mother who was lying to us, who said she took him to the arcade. She took him to a bowling alley, fun indoor amusement park. They couldn't go bowling because there was leagues. which I can't find any evidence of that. But yet they only stayed for 10 minutes. But she played games. Yeah, some cannot be jammed. Exactly, Nisi Marie. And, you know, I think it's interesting to look into it, especially when it didn't go back to working to normal until the 27th. So I'm going to give Chris the floor again here. Hopefully, I think he does explain it. I haven't watched this before yet. This is kind of more of a reaction.
But yes, this is not, you know, this isn't lights moving on Friday, the 23rd. This is that Sunday morning or Monday morning. It just, the timestamp froze. But I told you guys how they, because remember, you know, that lovely PI that likes, you know, hates the truth, I guess. I don't know. Tried to say that, oh, well, you know, this was happening just before the garbage truck comes at, you know, around 5 a.m. But yet I told you guys how they would be able to figure it out because they had the NVR player, and you could break it down in hours or 24 hours. I don't know. I had the, you know, a live show where I broke that all down. But anyway, but yes, this was really the 26th. We believe it was around 3 a.m. But again, yes, the timestamp and the date was frozen. Now, keep in mind, there is metadata, and unless they tinkered with that metadata, so even though they have the surveillance footage with the timestamp frozen, there could be metadata that they could pull from the footage, where it would actually just have the real date and time, unless it was severely hacked. And then if it was severely hacked, then you have to ask yourself, why? Who did that?
Okay, guys, I just wanted to pop in really quick. So this is a very good point that Chris is making here. So metadata would be attached to it, but that was another thing that I was reading through, that if it was severely hacked, they completely hacked their system, which they probably did. If it was hacked for an extended period of time, like February 23rd through February 27th, 2024, then I would imagine that maybe they were severely hacked, and maybe that metadata is not there, or metadata is not there as it should be. And that is precisely the reason why we need to ask these questions. Now, again, I just want to do an update. There are 877 people in Chris's chat, right, that want to know about what happened to Sebastian. They want to explore this new piece of evidence that has come out, or old evidence that they've recycled and they're not explaining thoroughly enough. And so we need to turn to people who can do that, or who will do that. Hey, Deanna. And it is what it is, right? But they're not taking any time out to explain any of that. So we're stuck here. But I have 84 people in here. Definitely not a cold case, in my opinion. People are still very, very concerned with where is Sebastian, and that we need him to be found. And I agree. I think that those cameras went to the landfill as well, Grace. And I think more and more about what they were looking for there was probably the cameras, right? They weren't really looking for someone, right? CP said after Sebastian went missing that KK's boss was there and was upgrading security system. What better way to explain why the cameras are gone, in my opinion? And I heard this with my own ears. It's not hearsay. Well, and that's the thing too. Chris has been very forthcoming with that kind of information. And then he wants to backtrack and act like he didn't give us everything we need to know. You know, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But I'll go ahead and give Chris the floor back.
All right. So continue on. So yeah, this is the first real screenshot we've ever seen. It's crazy. Um, okay, I just want to make sure I got this. Thank you, Fly Girl, Geneva, Mob Crew Rocks. Thank you, Black Witter. God bless, sweetheart. I think I got lawyer. Kathy says FBI posted on X. I asked what vehicle ever made has headlights that go in opposite directions. Also, trees are bare in Tennessee in February. Yeah, and we're gonna look at the footage here. Holly, thank you so much for the $1.99. God bless you. And Chris, and then yes, I got that. Thank you, Deanna. God bless you. Okay. So here's me zooming in, and this is where you could, like I said, like we'll look at the original footage or like what was originally leaked out. We could tell like this is definitely, yeah, there's much more color to it. You'll notice like we can actually see some white, and again, like just looking at the timestamp, like compared to what we had leaked out, it was like, it looked very grainy. And like you can see much more detail over here. And there's something kind of interesting, and I just didn't have enough time because there was just like so much to prepare for. So we'll have to do another show. Man, I really wish they would put this footage out if it's nothing. But I don't think they would. So anyway, sorry, I thought that zoomed in a little bit faster. So this is where, so if anybody's wondering where the screenshot, like what part of the video the screenshot was taken, this is taken kind of just after subject 1 moves a fair distance away from the vehicles. And there's something that's already triggered the motion light on the garage. And if you missed out on how we figured out the motion light and how far away to, well, I wouldn't say how, like we know exactly how far away to trigger it, but I'm pretty sure it's just set to like from the road. But then you have to ask yourself, like, what triggered the motion light, right? So here's me kind of overlaying it. And you can kind of see like the details. Let me go full screen here. But yeah, the details on the vehicles definitely get a lot better. Sadly, of course, because this stuff is, the lights are still so much further away. There's still not, it's not like a person just all of a sudden now appears. But there is something in there. And I do think because the FBI has it, that they could obviously always enhance this. Footage is always getting, there's always better algorithms, programs out there that are literally just made to enhance dark security footage. Oh, no. Oh, no. We're all good, me and you. Thank you. Okay. So if you guys don't remember, those that may have forgotten, here, let me go, not full screen. So this is very important. So here's some of the leaked footage, right, that we've broken down. I'm not going to go over all of it, but I just want to go over a few things, right? And this is the first part of the leaked footage, and that is where the motion light gets activated. That was something that we kind of, I discovered a much longer time, because the film is so grainy as is that I didn't even realize that the motion light gets activated. And that is due because of obviously some kind of motion and likely a car turning onto Stafford. As you can see right there, the light gets turned on very slowly, right? There's nothing moving at this moment, right? The lights are now kind of either blocked by the ditch or whatever. They're going to pop up here in just a minute. This is likely, in my opinion, the car. And thanks to Silver's on the scene, they just accidentally did this experiment not on purpose. They just happened to, I looked back and they had done a drive, and Silvers too were driving in the neighborhood at night, just to get an idea. And as they turned onto Kellen, literally just as they're turning on to Stafford from Kellen, they trigger the motion light. And so I'm like, the question is what triggers the motion light, right? Like, something has to be moving. It certainly isn't 300 yards in the neighborhood, like, behind it, for sure. I'm pretty sure it's a vehicle likely with the lights turned off, trying to, suspiciously turn on to Stafford, and then the video unfortunately cuts off, and then it starts up just after the motion light has now turned off. So it tells me it's like whatever these lights and the vehicle were doing were clearly acting very suspicious. One second here. So here is, thanks to Silvers. And this is what, except just think, now look how dark it is, right? He is now going to turn on to, and this is the house with the surveillance. Now imagine if he just kicked off his headlights, right? It'd just be complete pitch black. And they did this after I discovered, or before I discovered the motion light thing. And just as they turn that corner, now the light has moved. I don't know if the motion sensor has moved, but the light that like kicks on, now keep in mind this is after he, disappeared. And I'm assuming they probably put this light here because it's right under where the surveillance security camera is. And that would make sense because you want to have more light where your camera is pointing and stuff, right? And that's the only difference. The night he went missing, the light that turned on was over just on the opposite side of the garage. So right here, but immediately as they turn, they're like, oh, wow, that's interesting. And then we could see, and again, a huge shout out to Silvers. The only reason I even, a lot of people, give me credit for the 3 a.m. lights, breaking it down and stuff. But, a lot of credit really goes to Silvers, because I saw one of his videos where he's like, man, I kind of think the 2 lights, these 2 stationary floodlights are coming from this home here. And then when he did that, and when you do some basic geometry, again, just some basic geometry, we know that, one of the trucks, now let me see, let me get the one that, actually this one actually might be better. So we know that there was 2 trucks, obviously, so say this one's just really just pointing, this would be north, right? West, right? I'm dyslexic, so, but so it's facing this way, right? Parallel with the road. Well, we know that when we look at their surveillance, that where the floodlight is, I mean, if you just draw a straight line from, actually, let me, a bit easier from this one. Oh, I can't zoom in on this one. But obviously, if we drew just a straight line, I mean, it's just basic math, right? Just basic geometry. If we drew a straight line over, it'll likely take us to the source of those lights, right? That's just kind of how basic geometry works. And when I did that, and then when I saw Silver's video, and I think this is the one before this where he drove the daytime, but he's like, man, I think the lights are, on this this garage here. And I'm like, then I basically just drew a straight line over. I'm like, well, that adds up, just basic geometry,
Okay, guys, I just want to pop in really quick. Excuse me. I don't want to go too far back, but you guys pay attention if you can to this ditch, right?
I think the lights are,
This is where you could kind of really see it. So when they went out of focus, when they came out of focus in the lights video, I believe that some of it was them walking down into this ditch. Some of it may have been because there were bushes obstructing and things like that, but I do think they used the ditch to their advantage. Hey, Bet Cook, good to see you. So just kind of wanted to point that out to give it some perspective as well.
On this garage here, and I'm like, then I basically just drew a straight line over. I'm like, well, that adds up, just basic geometry, because that's basically, of course the truck wasn't parked this way, it's parked parallel, but still the roof would be about the same height, and we just draw a straight line over. Now I know that, the PI and nose team want to say that it's the guy walking his garbage can from here to here, but I could tell you that gets really confusing and disturbing, because as things get further away from us, those distances, right? Like if you're standing on railroad tracks, right? And you just watch them go into the horizon, those tracks literally eventually just meet up with each other. But does that mean that they really connect with each other when your vision, when you go up to the horizon, when you're looking at tracks, you go down and you go to the horizon of your field of view, those tracks, go up, but obviously, of course they don't come together. They're always, so much feet apart. It's just as things get further away, those distances are shorter. So to say that some guy's walking his trash can from the driveway, well, this would be one hell of a driveway. This would be like, I don't know, 100-foot driveway, 100-yard driveway. Because remember, this light is quite a bit out there. It's 100 yards out there. So I don't know if, Fish Sticks ever thought about that in their team. Like, they're coming from all the way from this floodlight, and they're moving all the way over here. Now, obviously, whatever's closer to us is going to be, a certain size, but as we move it away from us, it gets smaller and smaller, even though it still retains its same size. But that's just how field of view works. So again, either this guy's got one of the longest driveways ever that we just don't know about, or it's because that driveway is above this field of view and they're completely wrong. And it's not. And it was what Nick Bear said originally, that it was just, pointing towards the backyard and there's lights moving. So continuing on, I'm sorry, I just had to kind of point that out. But there is something in this little photo that I do want to point out. Let's see here. So, of course, I've done so many different things with this Nick Barris, seeing where the two lights go. Again, if this was a guy taking out his trash can, what is the other person doing? Because there's two subjects, right? And they're really technically coming together, but just at separate times. Of course, they don't answer that question. Nothing about a wife being out there or whoever. But here's the big one that I just blows me away, why no one wants to touch on the other side and why FBI would put this in there if this was like going to be debunked. And ask yourselves and tweet this out, if you guys are on Twitter. is, okay, they talk about this flashlight, say, oh, well, no, it's just a headlight of a truck. Well, what about this big anomaly? Like, holy shit. Sorry for my language. Like, holy shit, what the hell is this damn? Like, what is this huge thing? Why does none of them ever talk about this thing? Like, right here. Like, yes, this is very exciting. Like, this, moving flat, I'm pretty sure it's a flashlight, in my opinion. But what about this big anomaly that lights up? And then, when we did some, small measurements, just, some, approximate measurements from what appears to be the headlight to a tail light. This is like a car turning on its lights right after it waited for the motion light to turn back off, because they're like, shit, because as they turned the corner, they probably didn't realize that they were going to set off the motion light. And now they're sitting there waiting as these flashlights are moving left to right. Again, why has the FBI or that team that was out there, Fish Sticks, why don't they ever talk about this huge anomaly? Again, there isn't just the flashlight video. There's this huge anomaly that I'm pretty sure is a vehicle, that is right next to this truck here. And of course, if we go back to the homeowner himself, he's been interviewed. Of course, nobody's, they were very respectful, at least my sources, and they just kind of, were out there doing some things. And, he was working on his boat, I think both times. I'm not sure. I know at least one time he was just out there on his boat, and, a certain somebody went up and, just asked him, like, what'd you see? And, he said, yeah, you can see somebody going left to right. Looks like two people. What looks like flashlights. Again, he didn't have all the answers. And then the biggest thing is just like, yeah, there's a car that turns on that stops right in front of my mailbox. He said that like multiple times. And I'm sure he told Nick Barris this. And I'm so I'm blown away. Nick Barris is not clearly he had to have seen this footage. But he left this out. And it's like, why? Now I understand, because it's like, if it was early on in the investigation, you got a vehicle, I totally get that. But ask yourself, forget the flashlights moving left to right. Look at this huge anomaly that lights up. We know this thing's right next to this vehicle. It's not far away. This is literally 100 feet from the camera, give or take. And I'd have to measure it. But it's just happens to be from that, what appears to be the headlight and the tail light. If you measured the distance, because again, now, of course, from the camera, this appears to be about somewhere between 14 to 15 feet, which I said a long time ago. I'm I did a little measurement, and again, I'm not saying it's exact, but that is the average size of, I think it's 15 feet, give or take. It's the average size of a medium sedan. Yeah. I mean, I agree, Sharon, I'm sorry. Chris, they didn't debunk the car, so therefore they believed there was a 3M card there. I mean, you could take it that way. I mean, and I don't know. To me, because I'm glad that they actually have the original footage. That's the big thing, right? Judy, thank you so much for becoming a member. God bless. Yeah, 100%. It's a vehicle. And it's the vehicle that literally set off the motion light, and then they waited. And then guess what's going to happen? We have one more clip, right, that was leaked out. Now, right now, the motion light sensor's off, right? But clearly, they're in panic mode. So right now, as you can see, the motion light is now back off. This would be so amazing to see without the, the unedited version. It'd be so nice to see the original version, because I'm sure we'd be able to see a lot more. But yeah, notice we got that. We don't have the green hue as we do in that new original. But so there the vehicle kicks on, and then as I said, like, I'm pretty sure they just paused the video right here and then tried to zoom in because I think they're trying to show the vehicle, but didn't realize that, like, of course they're, you know, it's a dark video and they're probably doing it with light, and so it's really, you know, because I don't think, I'm assuming you could probably see the vehicle, like, you know, like kind of make out more of the outline of the vehicle, but because I don't know why else you would try to zoom in, because clearly you would have seen this first before you would record it on the cell phone, right? So I think you can at least see the outline of the vehicle in probably the original. You know, are you going to be able to make out the exact model or anything? I'm sure that's probably you know, a lot harder.
Okay, so I just wanted to pop into, and I just want to say that, you know, I think that whoever was zooming in definitely saw something and zoomed in and wanted to see more, right? Is that a car? What's tripping the lights off? All of that. They're also trying to zoom in on the subject 1, subject 2, right? What we've come to know as subject 1 and subject 2. Now, without any explanation whatsoever, or them showing us any type of overlays of the topography and everything that they stated in their statement that the FBI released, I don't understand why there is no explanation for the 3 a.m. car that's coming down Kellen into the neighborhood, turns around, drives up Kellen, right, as if they're about to go out of the neighborhood, but instead they pull on to Stafford Court, and they're sitting there, and that's the vehicle that tripped off the lights, right? So if even if we're like, you know, a 10-year-old, right, and we're given this as an assignment, we can take a look at this and say, okay, there was a car in the neighborhood, and then the car comes up and parks, that the car might be doing something nefarious, right? I mean, it's a Scooby-Doo episode. It's not that hard, in my opinion, right? The pesky kids, if it wasn't for those kids, yeah, we would figure it out, right? Really quickly. Now, I'm not the best at math. Geometry is a little bit different. It's more logically, you know, it's more logical. It makes more sense to me than algebra, as an example. But I can definitely see where this car would be of interest in the neighborhood when we have this going on here, right? If this car is going up and down the road, right, or down and then back up the road and turning onto the street to trip off these motion sensor lights, then I think that we can surmise really quickly that that was the car that did that, right? If there were no other cars in the area, so to speak. So I just want to point that out. And I also want to point out again that, you know, they're wanting us to say nothing to see here. First it was a trash truck, then it was 2 separate cars, then it's trucks in the distance, you know, all of that, you know. Hey, Claire Duke, good to see you. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Says, thank you to Lady Freedom. Thanks to you and Mob Crew and Clutch Them Pros and the Lab. Oh, I love those guys too. And Smiley, love Smiley, Crew, etc. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Claire. You know, we're all just working together, right? And it's a fantastic thing because this is how we get more information that is, you know, people that don't have any skin in the game, right? Eric Craddock seems to have way too much skin in the game, or just, you know, enjoys being corrupt, in my opinion. So same thing with Brandon Carter. You know, Holly S., I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that per se. I did tell the person who said that he wants tips that I would send them to him, and, you know, to get me his direct contact information. If that's what it takes, that I have to send it directly to him, I will do so. But I know a lot of other people that feel differently because they've already sent him crap and he doesn't respond back. So it's really sad and sickening, you know, Never believe it's a garbage truck. Never believe it's a trash truck. Canadian True Crime 24. No way. In my opinion, no. Even people I was talking to on the street didn't believe that, right? When I was handing out flyers. Also, you know, nobody's going to believe that that's, you know, cars in the distance, because there's too much obstructing the view for that, right? It would have to penetrate through houses, it would have to penetrate through the forest, you know, surrounding the neighborhood. It's complete rubbish. It's rubbish. And I'm not going to stand for it, and I'm glad Chris is going to stand for it. You know, there's absolute activity going on. Somebody was zooming in on it specifically to see what was going on, right? Whoever took this video from its original source and recorded it off of their cell phone and gave it to Nick Barrett.
There's one other thing I was going to say about that. Oh, and then the footage just
boy mom.
After the car is gone, you know, which is the footage where the
if it's headlights, prove it.
Where the person's running back,
Show me.
you can see that the motion light has now been activated. The car's not there anymore, which tells us that it likely had backed up, because clearly we don't see any lights around, because clearly there's nothing here. I mean, it's always possible the car could have took off forward, but you know, we've heard that it just probably backed up and turned back onto Kellen. And then we have the individual running back. Yeah, I don't know how that works. I would be nice if that was if it was that easy. But again, ask yourself, like, if this is them debunking the footage, they're literally referencing some of the worst recreations. One, the 300 yards, the truck headlights, the street atop the hill, which of course the camera is not pointed up there. It's pointed down towards the driveway. The camera's not looking up there, even though that one team, you know, clearly. And then of course they clearly showed.
And guys, really quick before Chris makes his next point, I just want to point out that yes, the field of view, the camera angle, everything is off. None of this works, right? Elaine says, GGFT says, and good to see you, Elaine. She says, thinking out loud, do you think that the FBI is putting this information out to throw off CP and KP? In my opinion, I think anything's possible there, Elaine. I do. I just have a big problem with them saying we're working on it, and then this is the crap that they put out. It's absolutely crazy. And then Holly S, she says, Lady Freedom, what's the FBI? What the FBI has said sounds exactly like what came off of Gray Hughes video. I am shook. I know. I can't believe it either. And we were talking about that. And you know, somebody you know, had sent this to me. Somebody had sent this to me and said, well, what do you think of this? And I said, it looks pretty much like Gray Hughes. Like they took it straight from his theory, you know, or, you know, lack thereof of a theory. So, oh my goodness. Faye says it was a trash truck. It should have taken the feet all the way down because they went back to the house, in my opinion. And that's the whole thing too. They want us to forget about that, Faye. And it's very hard to shake, right? Especially because, you know, in the grand scheme of things, trash trucks don't go through neighborhoods, you know, and these particular trash trucks had an arm on it, right? That comes up and pulls up next to the trash can, picks it up, dumps it in there for the guys. They don't have to get out and lift it off the ground or anything like that. So, you know, with that being said, they need them out by the curb in order for them to pick it up. They're not going to be going through the neighborhood as, you know, in that manner either. So these are all super important to, you know, consider when we're looking at all of this, you know. And KJ Max says, If it's headlights of no evidentiary value, there should be no problem releasing that footage to quell the speculation. Yeah, and if they have such a great overlay that they've been working so hard on and using topography maps and different, technologies, wouldn't they want to show us that they've been working so hard, and wouldn't they want to show off all of their hard work? I mean, I know I love showing my hard work off. So why are they any different? Why are they any different? And Grace says, Lady Child, great being here. Have to run. Love you all. Oh, love you too, Grace Paris, Mama Grace. Thank you for being here as always. I appreciate you. It's terrible, Holly S. It's terrible. Contract Cafe says, Lady Freedoms, I thought I heard that the light-colored car pulled into Cece's house. A couple of people got out and ran between the houses, and a black SUV drove on Kellen and turned left on Stafford and put on the right next to the common area and backed onto Kellen, took off allegedly. I'm so confused. Could you please clarify? Where did you hear that though? And like what, I mean, because I've always been under the assumption that the silver car was going up and down the street, right? It shows it on the cameras. So if there's other footage that I don't know about, that there could have been a black SUV, but I don't recall there being one in the neighborhood at this time as it pertains to the scout getting out of the vehicle, people getting out, waiting for, because obviously someone was let out on Kellen, right? And that person was waiting for Katie, who came with the other light source, and they meet together, and a short time they go off of camera, and then she goes back to the house, right? Allegedly, a person goes back there. So Mob kind of put it out for us that when they went up Kellen, as you can see them doing in that silver vehicle, they turned around, let someone out, and then when they parked onto Stafford Court, just like Bobby the neighbor said, they were waiting. So they had a getaway driver as well. So it makes me wonder if someone lit a fire under LE to get the ball rolling. So that's all just a show. Yeah, and they very well might have lit a fire under their butt. Yeah, exactly. I think they have. Also, excuse me. I think too with Seth going out there, and thank you to anybody else that was out there with Seth. I think that says a lot too. We want answers. Those pesky kids, Scooby and those pesky kids, would do a better job of investigation and interrogating than this farce. I know, KJ Mac, I agree. I keep wondering about Ken with the search team that showed the maps of searching. Where is he at? Yeah, but I think a lot. Yeah, I understand that. Wait, what? Yeah. They just recycled some old footage from old Ken Weiner. Here's the map we used in the first 7 days. Well, you've been telling us about the map that you used in the first 7 days. If y'all really think that Sebastian walked off in the middle of the night with no shoes on, he wouldn't have made it far. So why aren't you still searching and researching and searching and searching and searching the immediate area over and over and over again? You should be scouring it, not sitting behind your desk all day doing jack all. All right.
That they have the original footage. All they have to do is just go, instead of, I cannot believe this is literally what they're talking about. This is the topography, and this is the because that's, like I said, this is 300 yards away. I am so like dumbfounded that they actually tried to use this. But again, there's no mention of, of course they show like, they circle one thing in the image, but they don't show like the, sorry, let me just move this over. they don't show, you know, that anomaly, the vehicle, right? Which again, what the hell is that thing? This is the craziest case. It is, and I swear to God, like, you know what got me like started back on this case? And the reason why I stopped like looking at the footage is because of literally, and I'm not really blaming GH, because he was just kind of going off what apparently Crispy told him. And in a way, it kind of like made sense, but like, you know, then when I would like after a couple months and covered some other cases, and I was like, man, I was watching like See No Evil, which is an amazing television show where they basically just bust criminals using surveillance footage, and it's amazing. Just the little minute footage that they have caught criminals with, and some really disturbing cases. And, you know, they've had to look at it, you know, over and over. And it's just like little pixels that show something that they were looking at, like, you know, for God knows how many hours. And then it's just like, you know, finally just, you know, they look at it another time and then are like, oh my gosh, I see something that, you know, was there, but, you know. And then that's what made me, I'm like, God, like this doesn't really line up. Like the garbage can that, like, why is he coming from this angle? This isn't even the angle that, you know, the camera's pointed. And then that's when I, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a crack at it. And then it's like, oh, this guy's like way off. And those lights are much closer. And then when you listen to Nick Barris, it's like, oh yeah, it makes sense. It's facing towards the backyard of Rogers. I love that show. Yeah, that show like is amazing. Yeah. Shout out to that show. Let's see. There's one other thing. Oh, zooming in on it. So because I didn't get a lot of time to actually like play with it. And I don't want to get like, because, you know, I've always tried to been like, real with you guys, and I don't try to push stuff that I don't think is, you know, because I know a lot of times people have tried to zoom in on things, and I think they are trying to help, but you know, it's kind of like the whole Ruckus video, right, where they zoomed in on the floodlights, you know, but because, you know, even though when you're zooming in, it looks like things are moving, it's just because the camera and the lights are kind of like flickering because they're like, it's just pixels that are trying to, you know, coming in and out.
And then, yes, guys, I was reading your comments too. I just wanted to pop in. So Bobby did say that, but in her original statement, she was talking about how there was an Uber car that was on Kellen as well. And then she also kind of changed her story up. So until I can see the footage of it that corroborates the second story, I'm going to go with the first story that she told when she knew everybody was listening. You know, the people that she was on that phone call with, she didn't know they were recording her, but there are also people that are not trustworthy themselves. And so when you lie with dogs, you're going to catch fleas, right? So that's what we witnessed that happened to Bobby, in my opinion, right? She's also friends with TL as well, right? And playing both sides of the fence on that, conniving, you know, injecting herself into a situation where she shouldn't have been. And she's, you know, paid, you know, the price for it herself. So, but no, I wouldn't really heavily speculate on any SUVs or anything like that until I saw some sort of proof, you know. Yeah, Paige, bullied into submission is a good one. And, you know, sometimes you get a vibe from people over the phone, and you could tell there were certain things she was saying, and there were certain, you know, directions she was going, and they were negated by the other people that she was talking with on the phone. So in that case, sometimes you just kind of agree to disagree, or you'll concede their point, or you might, you know, agree with them completely just because you don't want to disagree with them, if that makes any sense. So in my opinion, I would focus more on the flashlights and the 3 a.m. vehicle that was bold enough to drive into that neighborhood that night. Because, look, again, if this camera was jammed, right, 2/23/24, it was jammed for days before Sebastian was reported missing, right? 3 days. We also think if it was caught just jammed on this timestamp, right, and then 3:10/11:04 a.m. it was jammed at, right? So we're going to have to look at that and say, why was it jammed for so long? It didn't go back into commission until 2/27/24, excuse me. Right? So February 27th, all of a sudden it's miraculously back working. Nothing's wrong with it. No issues at all. Right? According to what we're seeing here. So just trying to unpack all of this and, establish some semblance of the truth. We're going to have to look at these options. We're going to have to look at all of this. We're going to have to say, why is this going on? Why are we seeing a camera jammed in the neighborhood that is in full view of the area that they were taking Sebastian out of? Right? Why is that? So, we got new information as it comes to a point where instead of the FBI or the Sumner County Sheriff or TBI taking the time to explain this to the public, they put this slop out here. And now we get to untangle all of it. And shame on us. Shame on us. I don't think so.
And there's really nothing going on. But now with this screenshot, there is something that's interesting. And again, I need to take some more time. Oh, yeah. No, he had nothing on me, of course. So here's me zooming in. There's something interesting in here. And I haven't even really gotten to enhance this. Again, I don't know how much I can enhance, but there could be a little bit, but there is something interesting. Now, again, it could be a number of things. But we're slowly zooming in here, and I appreciate everybody, and I apologize. I'm rambling on. Try to read more chat here.
Okay, guys, and really quick before we get into it, KJ Mack was asking, would a signal jammer show up in a geofencing or other type of signal search? Surely one would give off signals of sorts. Did they even check for that? I would think it would, but that's a good thing to kind of look into, right? Geofencing and whether, because really the geofencing is working the area against the cell tower. So anything that is going to be picked up by the cell tower will be, driven to the Stingray technology, right? Because it's a different set of technology altogether. And what it does is it'll pull in a certain area that's geofenced, right? So you can set the perimeters. And then what happens is instead of all of the data going to the cell tower, it now drives all of that data to the Stingray technology. And I would imagine that those signals would be picked up. Although I don't know if those signals go to the cell tower. If they go to the cell tower, I would imagine they would go to the Stingray, if that makes sense. And I did a whole video on it, guys, and I even brought in some video from some really, really smart people over at Yale University.
But you're going to notice the main source of light here, but there is something behind it that appears to be illuminated a bit. And one of the things that the homeowner said is that he said that it looked like he could see a person when they're running back, that they could see the person actually kind of like jumping the ditch. And that's just a very unique statement to make, right? And we do see that. Like, we see a light darting back towards the Proudfoot home. But I don't know if you guys can see. So here is like the light source, but there is something which you would think that there would be something slightly illuminated around that light. Again, it could just be pixels that are just kind of being picked up. Again, if it was a video and that thing stayed uniform, you could almost say like, oh, well, this could be like part of the person's like shirt or hand, or again, keep in mind this light is so far away. Like this, if this was a human being, which is good chance there is, this person would be very small. It'd be like a stick figure, like, but it's interesting that you can kind of see something behind the light, which does excite me, because I always kind of wondered, like, if we had the original footage, what else could we see in it? And I do think there probably is stuff in there. So I do apologize if you're on your cell phone. I guess I should have zoomed in some more. But it is there. There is like some kind of pixels behind the light source. Again, it could be a number of things. Maybe I could run it through AI, because obviously we've never had this photo before. Is the lights reflecting off a window? I don't think so. Unless you're talking about a different light, Girl Mom.
Introducing the only prescription hair regrowth gummy on the market, the Minoxidil Plus Biotin Gummy by Hers, formulated.
Yeah, I think it's just pitch blackness. Yeah, unless you're mentioning something over here, but yeah, you can definitely tell that, this is definitely the original footage. It's got more color to it. Unfortunately, it's kind of a 50-50, bittersweet, because I wish it was like the Ring camera footage that we know that like SF has, and hopefully it's turned over to the proper authorities, because that footage, from across the street and behind the home, that's in nighttime mode. So that's going to pick up things even further away, especially like if somebody's walking around with a flashlight, it's going to pick up any white and black very prominently. That's what it's made for. These color night modes, they're more useful when you actually have really good spotlights that are shining towards what you're recording. And unfortunately, it's, they just didn't have the best lighting. Being Florida says, Chris Homer didn't give the footage to Nick Barris. Allegedly, his wife gave it to her friend. Yeah, I've heard that. And a friend linked it to Nick Barris. Nick Barris. Against the wife's wishes. Interesting. I've heard that. I cannot confirm, but I do think part of what you're saying is true, for sure.
And guys, I want to pop in and say I think part of that's true as well. Although I will say that I've heard it as more of a rumor, kind of, something circulating around. June says, "Hey, Lady Freedom, can I ask a question?" Yes, June, thanks for being here. Did anyone ever find out why CP signal was detected, but he wasn't there? Good question. That's why I was listening to Elevated Goof, actually, because he did a really good live. And again, I say that, guys, because he absolutely paid my stalker $180 after court. After I won in court, he sent him a cash app for $180. So yeah, Elevated Goof. Nothing manly or truthful about that, in my opinion. However, we all have something wonderful to bring to the table. In my opinion, I think we all can help find Sebastian together. So I was listening to it again. And I mean, Chris came up there, guys. Don't talk about my truck. I wasn't there the 25th. I was there the 26th. After at 1:30 in the afternoon. Yada yada yada. And if they did in fact do the geofencing and use that Stingray technology, in my opinion, June, they have a lot more information than they're letting on. And in that case, I would have to go with the theory that they are actually most likely keeping everything to the vest, and they don't want to tell us the truth, and they are going to fib to us, and they are going to flat out lie to us and say, no, nothing to see here, right? Because they are working. So I've been going down every rabbit hole again, right? Hey, Chuchi, good to see you. And, trying to piece it together the best I can. And I'll always update you guys, or if I got something, wrong, or if something changes. But in this case, we're never going to get it 100% right, because we don't have the right information to begin with. And that's the most horrible and despicable and atrocious part of this whole situation, is that Sebastian deserves a hell of a lot better than that, in my opinion. Hey, Dog Mama for life. So, thank you, Dog Mama for life. Thank you for being here, sweetie. That's really nice of you to say. You guys are so kind, and I appreciate all the kind words and the support. Because yeah, we have to really stick together, even if people have done you dirty or done you wrong, in the same way, screw me once, shame on you, screw me twice, shame on me. So I don't allow for it a second time around, but I also think that interview was so valuable, so very valuable. Thank you, Panda Bear's mom. Thank you so much. I'll get Devlin's flyer up there. Gosh, he is such a cutie. I hate to think of him out there somewhere still. But again, guys, Chris with the mob, I think his viewer was right on. And again, guys, just to do a count, since we're here 920 in the chat here, and I've got 73 in my chat. So nobody's disinterested in Sebastian's case. We all want to find him.
Because I think it was a friend that did leak it out. But I know I can say, like, hand to God, that people have spoken to this guy since, the footage, and asked him, like, hey, what did you see? And he has said it multiple times. Like, yeah, there's a car in my driveway right across from my mailbox, and looks like there's some lights moving from left to right, and then somebody running back, jumping the ditch. But yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if it'd be the Apple Watch. Not to say it couldn't be. I think it's a flashlight, in my opinion. Oh, thank you, Nicole. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
Flashlight or headlamp. That's my guess. That's my best guess. I don't know that it is the Apple Watch, but it could be.
If there's nothing, release it. Right. It would shut us up in an instant. And you literally have the original footage. So you could literally just show it in daytime. Don't talk about some topography that was done literally haphazardly and very, I hate to say it, kind of done in such a I get it. Like, I know this guy likes to take pride in his work. So this is why I actually did kind of take what he did seriously for a bit. And then it was like, when I went back to this case, kind of looked at it, I'm like, man, there's why is he choosing this angle? This doesn't make sense. This is like, you're really trying to put a square peg in a round hole. This doesn't make sense. The only thing he got right is turning the video, because obviously the angle from the driveway down, everything looks angled right here. That's just because of the driveway. But everything, once past this truck right here, it's like a V almost, right? It's just kind of an illusion. And then, of course, since the camera is on slightly an angle, these floodlights, obviously this home, in this surveillance would be tilted unless we were to tilt it right side up, which actually then make all these vehicles look more right side up, which obviously he at least attempted to do, but the angle was way off. It just, didn't make sense. But anyway, wow. Thank you to Kimberly for the PayPal. God bless. Does anybody have anything that you guys would like me to cover? Let's see, what time did I go live? 5:30. I wish we could have gone over the timeline a little bit more. Maybe I'll go back to that on tomorrow or Monday. So remember, this is from our favorite PI, right? Who his client is Sebastian Rogers, right? Not the people
Here
paying
comes
him.
Fishy Fishy. Here comes Fishy Fishy.
Suspiciously tried to claim that, like, hey, there's nothing going on here. Look, it's 306. There's nobody running around with flashlights. And the reason he put a blur here is just as important as why he put a blur here. And this footage, in a nutshell, and I do wonder, and I hope that the FBI has this, and if not, maybe we need to send something over to them, because I don't think I have. I know I've mentioned the Katie light thing, but the one thing that we've kind of discerned from this footage, so for those that don't know the context, this was, something that just before the anniversary, just before the anniversary, SF put out to try to say, like, hey, look, it's 306:50, 307 a.m. There's nothing going on here, but I'm just going to blur everything, right? Trust me, bro. And then a channel with that group later on, either the same day or during that week, released the unedited version along with some other clips. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. Oops. There we go. That way. So. And it was only, so we had like 3 main clips, right? So there's the unedited one at night. It looks a little different, right? Because he just had brightened it up. But we see Katie's light on, right? And so if this is at 3:06 and 51 a.m., well, this kind of combats Katie's alibi, right? Was it she's supposed to be in bed? And kind of weird, we've got a car at 3:10 a.m., driving around. And then it's this footage, right? It's the type of footage that he got from this home that's literally facing the backyard. It isn't the whole 24-hour footage. I'm almost like 99% sure of that, because I don't know why he just grabbed like a 3 a.m., a 3:05, or a 3:10 clip and time-stamped it and put that out to say, hey, look, there's nothing going on at 3:10, because we always kept saying 3:10, but he picks 3:06, or 3:07 a.m. And it was clear.
In a world where you've constantly been told what you can't do,
who will you choose to be?
When looking back, in this photo here, where is it? One of the 3 photos. This is the other one. Now the moon is going down. This is more like 5 a.m. I got to look at my thing. But there's a cat. Right here. I've done a video on this. I know it's kind of hard to see. This is not the original video that I did for this. But this is a cat. It's clear. You can see the tail and everything. The legs. It's walking up the stairs. Which tells me that these clips that he got are motion activated. So something happened at 3:06 and, basically 307, that he decided to blur out, which I'm sure is probably a light turning off or on, because that's what was happening on the other side around between 9 and midnight, or even a little bit later, but really 9 and midnight, that it was facing the house, the same kind of Ring camera. So they're kind of like, there's a Ring camera on the other side facing the front of the home. And then this person here's got kind of a even better Ring camera. At least from what the AI could tell. And they're both in nighttime mode. And so clearly it's picking out the whites and the blacks. And what was triggering the front was every time Katie was turning on the kitchen light and the dining room light and turning off and on. And remember, we've heard from Sweet Pilo saying, yeah, like, and her times were exact, like they were spot on, like so far back in March, or late March, April. And I think this is the exact same thing. Is Fish Sticks got motion activated clips, and then somebody else got some screenshots of them and was playing around with them, and they got upset at that person and they took that live down, which, again, so much for transparency, right? I think, does the FBI know that these clips are out there and these are motion activated? Like, do they have this stuff? Because if you guys don't recall, like, he did an interview saying, like, well, I'm not really working with law enforcement. We're not working together. I don't know how that helps Sebastian Rogers. If you come across footage, clearly you don't take footage seriously. We've addressed that so many times that I don't even want to get into it. I'm sure most of you guys know what I'm talking about, but that's crazy. So anyway, man, I wish we could have gone over more. And then, of course, the green hoodie person, like everything that At Night put out about the green hoodie, like that kind of puts me back on the green hoodie person.
Okay, guys. So yeah, it does put me back on the green hoodie person too. So, thank you, Ann, for being here in the bushes. Hey, Shelly, good to see you. Chi-Chi, thank you for stopping over. Broken Branch, good to have you here. I want to just pop in because we did get 100 likes. So thank you so much for letting me know, Detroit Rock City. And thank you guys all for hitting the like button. It means the world to me. I really appreciate that. Hey, Little Redo. So without further ado, let's do our Steel Magnolias party.
Weezer, there's someone I'd like you to meet. That looks like an autopsy.
Laughter through tears is my favorite emotion. I'm so mad I don't know what to do. I want to know why.
Lord, I wish I could understand. I just want to hit something. I want to hit it hard. Here. Hit this. Go ahead, Malin. Slapper. Are you crazy? Hit her.
Are you high, Clary?
We'll sell t-shirts saying I slapped Weezer Boudreaux. Hit her. Weezer, this is your chance to do something for your fellow man. Knock her lights out, Malin.
Let go of me.
But y'all don't say that.
Malin, you just missed a chance of a lifetime. Have a chickapin parish and give the eye teeth to take a whack at Weezer. You are a pig from hell. Weezer, I was just kidding. Come back. Oh.
Weezer, what brings you here? Shut up.
Not a very Christian thing to do. And now you gotta lighten up.
I can't say anything nice about anybody, come sit by me. Looks like two pigs fighting under a blanket.
A girl is fair game until there's a ring on it. And I mean a wedding ring. An engagement ring just means she's ready for one more mistake. Okay, this is perfect. Watch this.
Sometimes I wish I was smooth like Zahid. Of all the people I know, he's the best at girls.
Thanks, Weezy. Nothing like a good piece of ass.
And that's how you do it. Now, I'm gonna go hide in the back because that guy said he's gonna kick my ass and he has a neck tattoo, so...
I am pleasant. Damn it! I just saw Drum eating in this morning at the Piggly Wiggly, and I smiled at the son of a bitch, for I could help myself.
Honey, time marches on, and eventually you realize it's marching across your face.
Okay, guys, so I'm back. I want to go over this next part with the green hoodie because I know that Chris brought in some really good footage. So we will do that on the late show. But I just really wanted to go over this because he just does such a good job of showing us, you know, that everything that they came out with is pretty much debunkable, right? And then the lights being changed around. Now, I am very interested in figuring out more about these jammers too, because if this is the case, right, that this is a photo, and I believe Chris when he says it, that this is in fact a photo from that night, but the camera was jammed 2 days before this. That screams premeditation as well. You know, you see Marie the Piggly Wiggly. Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot more to look into just based on this new information that we're seeing. So I'm gonna hop off here, guys, because I've been on for 3 hours, but I want to kind of keep them a little bit shorter if we can. But I'll be back on tonight for the late night show around 11:30. But thank you all so much for being here and for you know, being interested in Sebastian's case. It's so important that we keep on and keep the pressure on, because there's only so much pressure that you can apply before something's going to burst, right? And that's the big takeaway. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for all of you being here, and I will see you tonight. Thank you so much.